He is Gu Sheng, also a remarkable figure in some alternate dimension. During one advancement in the realm, transcending life and death, he underestimated the power of heavenly tribulation. Because of that incident, he failed and was forced to use the secret technique of 9 reincarnations to seek a glimmer of vitality. He was reborn into the Gu clan, a family of loyal and brave generals in the kingdom of Tianfeng. People looked down on him, considering him a useless person, an innate waste physique with no way to cultivate. He became infamous for his debauchery, engaging in all sorts of wicked deeds. At times, he would steal the clothes of noble ladies to auction them off in the market, and at other times, he would fight someone simply for wearing the same color as him. His bad reputation spread far and wide, and no one was not afraid when hearing the name Gu Third Young Master. After the coming-of-age ceremony, he unlocked his 6 senses. With his memories returning, he began his cultivation journey. He delved deep into the sword void, where Sword Supreme once cleaved a nation for a beauty. Here, swords were stacked upon one another. He only wanted to achieve the 9 lives sword formula in this life, but to cultivate this divine sect, he had to awaken his sword body along with a steadfast will. His heart was as firm as a rock. He endured countless injuries from sword intent slicing through him. Finally, he also acceded to the sect, 9 lives sword formula, one sword sweeping away myriad paths, severing the ties of life and death. Shao Qing practiced the blood sword body formula, a technique that could slash through 100 miles of wind and rain. Not only that, he also took in numerous slaves and established his own force called Jianyu Pavilion. He rode alone to the border region, self-styled as the military lineage of the Gu family from the Tianfeng kingdom, the 3rd young master Gu Sheng. Just his words were enough to suppress 30,000 enemy troops, causing the opposing general to break into a cold sweat in fear. Seeing this, the soldiers turned and fled, vanishing into the wilderness. And now let's get to the content. When the imperial edict was read aloud, all the members of the Gu family knelt down on the ground. In response to the imperial decree, young master of the Gu family is to marry into the Li family, approved. As this unfolded, a crowd of servants knelt in front of a room, crying and pleading. Young master, something terrible has happened. Young master, please open the door. The servants continued to sob and lament. Open the door, young master. Meanwhile, the steward stepped forward and asked, where is the young master? The servant group pointed into the room and said, the young master is still inside, no matter how we call, he refuses to come out. Upon hearing this, the steward's expression turned serious as he spoke loudly, today is the young master's coming-of-age ceremony, almost all the great deities in the court have come. The Li family's master has arrived. The 3rd young master is the main character. If he is absent, how will others look at our Gu family? Hurry and open the door to bring the young master out. The servant exclaimed in astonishment, what? They knelt down and began to loudly discuss, is it the Li family, the Li prime minister with power that shakes the court? Is it the Li family and the young master has offended them? It's the Li family and the young master has provoked their great lady, the crowd protested, what should we do now? Young master, please come out, Gu 3rd young master. At this moment, the person they were shouting and pleading for was quietly sitting on the bed, his eyes tightly closed, emanating an aura of purple light. Gu family, Gu Sheng, the world truly has a theory of reincarnation. He closed his eyes and thought to himself, my name is Gu Sheng, I am the great general who founded the Tianfeng kingdom, the 3rd grandson of the current 1st rank elder. In my past life, I was in the strong heaven profound realm in some dimension, I failed to ascend and nearly died, unable to avoid using a secret method of reincarnation to get the chance to repeat once, until today, the memories of my past life and this life have finally merged completely. Gu Sheng suddenly opened his eyes wide. At this moment, he had reached the early stage of the profound realm, and he had truly succeeded. Gu Sheng sat calmly on the bed, considering, how many medicinal materials has the master used on me over the years? I was originally a waste physique, unable to cultivate, but the medicinal power left in my veins has even allowed me to break through to the earth profound realm. Gu Sheng pondered awkwardly. As soon as I regained my memory, I realized there was a huge trouble before me. The reincarnation technique, the divine hearing, the six senses conceal the divine eye. When the 20 weak spots of the six senses open, the current memories will emerge. At that moment, the people outside seemed about to explode. They shouted loudly, "Young master, come out quickly, the people from the Lee family have brought the imperial order. If you don't come out, those little people will take a beating." Before regaining his memory, Gu Hengsheng was precisely a useless playboy. As the eldest grandson of the Gu family, he did not study properly. All day long, he led the young masters around, indulging in debauchery, creating havoc, and using the reputation of the Gu family to domineer. Once, Gu Hengsheng ambushed in the house of Fan Lord, the Minister of Rights, stole the clothes of Fan Lord's daughter, and then put them up for auction outside to make a profit. He even shouted loudly to everyone, "Everyone come and see, this is the handkerchief of the precious daughter of Fan Lord, whoever bids the highest can have it." On another occasion, Gu Hengsheng beat up the young master of the Ministry of Rights, saying that the color of Qi young master's clothing was very similar to his. He felt uncomfortable and, without saying a word, attacked him, leaving the Qi young master unrecognizable even to his parents. Gu Hengsheng stepped on him disdainfully, saying, "Can't you see yourself before trying to wear the same color as me?" A month ago, under the encouragement of the partying young masters, Gu Hengsheng sneaked into the Li family home, then teased the mute lady of the Li family, making her cry. Gu Hengsheng even shamelessly lifted her chin and said, "Is the lady of the Li family really mute? I can't believe it, with such a beautiful face but unable to speak, it's such a pity." Then Gu Hengsheng also decided to take action. He approached the door and told himself, "But for the trouble this time, the Gu family won't be able to protect me anymore, it seems I have to take matters into my own hands." He opened the door to the room and finally revealed himself. As soon as they saw him, the servants cried out joyfully, "Young master, you have finally come out." Gu Hengsheng, feeling annoyed, said, "What are you crying about? Isn't this young master out now?" He cast his gaze at the servant on the ground and said, "Where are the people from the Li family? Take me to them." The servant happily replied, "Yes." Gu Hengsheng again showed unusual cooperation, causing the maids to whisper, "It seems that Gu young master has changed somehow, was he really that handsome before?" At this moment, many people had come to attend the ceremony, with Gu grandfather, Gu Tsang seated in the highest position. Gu Hengsheng finally appeared. He stepped into the grand hall. As soon as the main character was seen, everyone exclaimed in a stir, "That is Gu Hengsheng." He approached Gu Tsang and performed the proper greeting. The old man didn't show any surprising expression and simply said, "You made it, now hurry and greet the lords." Gu Hengsheng obediently responded, "Yes," but when he appeared, Li Tian Yuan, sitting below, looked displeased and scoffed. He was the family master of the Li family, a minister who served the crown prince as the grand tutor. A famous person in the Tang dynasty now, extremely powerful. The grandson finally arrived. Gu Tsang immediately stood up and spoke frankly to everyone. "Today, aside from the ritual of the coming-of-age ceremony for Hengsheng, there is something I want to discuss with you all. After I conferred with Lord Li, we have the intention to arrange a marriage alliance, so that Hengsheng and Lord Li's daughter can form a bond, with a grand wedding to be held 1 month later." Upon hearing this, Gu Hengsheng's face clearly showed a shocked expression, unable to openly refute. He thought to himself, "It seems there is no other way to turn this around." He looked sorrowfully at Gu Tsang, an old man in helplessness. "This decision by my master is either to suppress those petty individuals from all sides, or to hope that my future days can still be carefree, or to resolve the matter of Gu Hengsheng bullying Lady Li's family, Li Qiu-ro. The Gu family has fallen, and the Li family looks down on them." No matter how much Gu Hengsheng wanted to take action, he could not, and he even had to protect this Gu family. He gritted his teeth, his hand clenched into a fist, barely able to contain himself. "Is it worth it for my master to sacrifice the last bit of his authority for the safety of this little guy?" Hearing Gu Tsang's declaration, Li Tian Yuan also spoke up to conclude, "If that is the case, 1 month from now, I will send someone to deliver the gift on behalf of our Qiu-ro to welcome the third young master of the Gu family." Gu Tsang helplessly could only respond, "I will follow Lord Li's words." But Gu Hengsheng's clear voice suddenly interrupted, "Wait a moment. He then boldly rebutted, "Lord Li, what you said earlier is somewhat incorrect. I, the young master, want to clarify that you mentioned sending the betrothal gifts to the Gu family a month later. That seems backward, doesn't it?" The words from the young nephew left Gu Tsang astonished, his eyes wide. Li Tianyuan felt like he had become a joke as he darkly asked, "What do you mean?" Gu Tsang was somewhat frightened and hurriedly reminded, "Heng Sheng, do not be disrespectful," quickly apologized to Lord Li. He thought to himself, years ago, the Gu family was renowned and held great power. Of course, they couldn't allow their descendants to marry into the Li family, but now there are no other options. Gu Hengsheng, with a determined expression and gaze, told his grandfather, "Today, I ask you to trust every decision of Hengsheng." Just like seeing his grandson being serious for the first time, Gu Tsang's eyes welled up with tears, and his heart was deeply touched. He then lowered his eyes in agreement, saying, "You are a child of the Gu family, just do as you wish." Then, Gu Hengsheng turned to Li Tianyuan and said earnestly, "Li Lord, a month from now, this young master will bring the betrothal gifts to the Li family to propose to Li lady. What do you think? Although this young master may indulge in frivolous activities, I am still the only young heir of the Gu family. If I were to marry into the Li family, what face would the Gu family have left? What authority would the military lineage hold, and on what basis could we lead the northern army of the Tian Feng kingdom, defend its borders, and protect our homeland?" The powerful words that came from the mouth of a notoriously indulgent person left everyone in the hall wide-mouthed in disbelief. Furthermore, Gu Hengsheng even had the audacity to go against the wishes of Li Tianyuan. Seeing his grandson like this, Gu Tsang was so moved that he called out, "Little guy." Li Tianyuan remained silent, only turning to gauge Gu Tsang's thoughts. "Gu old man, is this truly your final decision?" Before the grandfather could respond, Gu Hengsheng had already replied. "Li Lord, as the first-rank great deity, will certainly understand the consequences if this young master were to become a son-in-law to the Li family. Not only would it lead to the disintegration of my army's morale, but it would also cause our nation's relationship with the Tian Feng kingdom to be the subject of much discussion." The tense standoff created an increasingly chilly atmosphere. Observing Gu Hengsheng's meticulous consideration, everyone began to murmur in doubt, "That makes a lot of sense. Is this person really as frivolous as the rumors say?" Li Tianyuan, filled with anger, directly questioned, How could this young official not understand the importance of this, Gu little guy? If you had even half the talent and temperament of my two deceased older brothers, would Miss Li family be willing to marry you?" Unfortunately, it is indeed true that a formidable tiger's offspring is hard to nurture. Gu Hengsheng solemnly bowed and said, "Li Lord, let's not discuss the matter of the son-in-law just yet. My actions have indeed brought shame to the Li family, and I am willing to accept punishment. If Li Lord is willing, then this young master will certainly apologize and make amends." Li Tianyuan stared at the junior before him, pondering for a few seconds without saying a word. Finally, he turned and left, saying, "Forget about today's events, let's talk about everything next month." After that, he shot Gu Hengsheng a decisive, cold glance and also left. That night, Gu Hengsheng returned to his room. Taking advantage of the quiet space, he focused on his cultivation. He silently told himself, "Finally, the six senses have opened, after so long without progress, it's about to begin." At night, with the bright moon and cool breeze, the space had already sunk into silence. However, Gu Hengsheng was still diligently cultivating. A stream of purple energy enveloped his body as his hands gradually absorbed the source of energy. Once he finished, he let out a quiet sigh, and the thin purple aura around him vanished. Gu Hengsheng approached the table in the middle of the room, calmly and slowly pouring a cup of tea. He thought to himself, "The early stage of the human profound realm is solid, with a little more time, I can challenge the middle stage of the human profound realm." The night was supposed to be quiet, but Gu Hengsheng heard hurried footsteps outside. Soon after, the door was flung open. It was Han Ruiyan bursting in, looking extremely panicked, tears smeared all over his face, calling out loudly, "Brother." Upon seeing Gu Hengsheng, Han Ruiyan immediately rushed over to hug him and cried uncontrollably, "Brother, are you trying to seek death?" How dare you go against that old man from the Lee family, only you would do that. If it were someone else, they would probably be dead on the street by now. Gu Hengsheng was taken aback by Han Rui's actions, his expression one of confusion as he didn't understand what was happening. But he also spoke up to reassure him, all right, isn't it humiliating for a man to cry like this? Han Ruian released Gu Hengsheng, tears and snot streaming down his face, his tearful expression making it hard for anyone to laugh, and yet he was the nephew of the Minister of War. In Gu Hengsheng's memory, he recalled, Han Ruian is someone I grew up with. Before my six senses were opened, it was this little guy who played games and caused trouble with me. At this moment, Han Ruian wiped his tears and, sobbing, recounted his woes. Brother, I was supposed to go congratulate you on your grand ceremony, but my master insisted I go to the military camp for training. I've had a hard time. I finally managed to sneak out just to see if you were still alive. Gu Hengsheng immediately looked at his younger brother with a judgmental expression. You crawled out of the dog den again, didn't you? That's impressive. Han Ruian felt embarrassed and flushed upon hearing this, quickly placing his hand on his chest to awkwardly deny it. Hearing this, he countered, that's nonsense, I am the nephew of the Minister of War, why would I have to crawl into a dog den? However, Gu Hengsheng showed no mercy and exposed Han Ruian's words. He pointed at him and said, Little un, quickly brush off the dirt and dog hairs from your clothes, after all, we are young masters with a reputation in the imperial city, we should maintain our dignity. Being directly exposed like that made Han Ruian feel shy and blush deeply. He scratched his head and laughed it off, this was an unexpected incident. But Han Ruian quickly cleared his throat a few times to regain his serious demeanor. While Gu Hengsheng was leisurely enjoying his tea, Han Ruian eagerly inquired, Brother, let's stop talking about the dog den and talk about the Lee family. Gu Hengsheng suddenly remembered, and upon mentioning this topic, his expression turned dark as he seriously questioned, was it not you guys who urged me to go seek out the lady from the Lee family? The words that came out of Gu Hengsheng's mouth made Han Ruian break out in a cold sweat. He quickly explained, Brother Gu, at that time, it was meant for us to bet, telling you to take a peek at the Lee family lady, but we didn't tell you to say those words. Speaking of being reckless, you are the most reckless. Gu Hengsheng was once again baffled, pretending to be calm, and took a sip of tea, replying, all right, since it's like this, why say so much? In his heart, he silently rejected it, when my six senses were not open, I was indeed too showy, I should have thought better. Han Ruian then asked seriously, so, Brother Gu, what should we do? Really become a son-in-law of the Lee family or turn against the Lee family? Gu Hengsheng casually replied, the boat will naturally straighten when it reaches the pier, I'm not afraid, what are you afraid of? At this point, Han Ruian could finally smile. He confidently said, of course I'm not afraid, so let's set off quickly. Gu Hengsheng was a bit confused and asked, set off for what? In the quiet night at Bai Meng Tower, the #1 brothel in the capital, it was a place that could not be entered by the noble and powerful. Not everyone with money can get in. Gu Hengsheng never expected Han Ruian to lead him to this place, and he found it difficult to understand. This is Bai Meng Tower, why did you bring me here? Han Ruian cryptically replied, have you forgotten? 2 months ago, Bai Meng Tower announced it had just brought in a new batch of young boys and girls, and they're here now. Although it was a place of indulgence, Gu Hengsheng thought it through now that he was here. While I'm not here for frivolities, I might just find what I need. Yet, Han Ruian beside him continued to look at him with hopeful eyes. Finally, Gu Hengsheng decided to go in, then let's take a look. Han Ruian cheerfully responded, okay. As Gu Hengsheng entered, Han Ruian eagerly rushed behind him, chirping, with Brother Gu here, we can secure a good spot. As soon as they saw Gu Hengsheng approaching, everyone in Bai Meng Tower was momentarily stunned. However, despite their slight fear, they quickly bowed to the honored guests, their words tumbling out hurriedly, welcome, young Master Gu, young Master Han. At this moment, the crowd was anxiously fearful, their hearts pounding as if they were seeing a ghost, thinking, oh no, the young Master Gu is causing trouble again. Even the guests turned pale as if they had encountered a fierce spirit, and the scene began to grow chaotic. That's the third young master Gu. Oh my, why is he here today? Is he looking to stir up trouble again? Some people even shouted in panic, everyone, quickly check if your clothes are the same color as his, be careful or he might set you on fire. Seeing the chaos caused by himself, Gu Hengxing didn't know how to react and could only silently assess, it seems changing my image will take some time. However, while Gu Hengxing was in a difficult situation, the little brat Han Ruiyan felt proud inside, thinking, Brother Gu truly is my brother Gu, there will forever be legends about him in the martial world. Then, both brothers walked in seriously. When witnessing the current situation, Feng Zhang's hand holding the teacup was trembling uncontrollably, his face turned pale as he lamented, good heavens, why is this person suddenly coming out today when he used to just drink upstairs? Zhao Ren beside him was also afraid of being implicated by Gu Hengsheng and quietly pleaded. I hope this wealthy gentleman is in a good mood today, otherwise, I fear he might cause another scene. A composed young lady approaches inside, and only after truly leaving the main hall does she dare to show her nervous attitude. Every time this Gu third young master arrives, it creates quite a stir, Miss Su. The grand ceremony isn't something trivial, do we need to? Before she could finish her sentence, Su Xing Yuan interrupted, the Gu family shouldn't be provoked casually. Let him create chaos, even if he tears down the Baimeng Tower, we cannot disrespect him. Su Xing Yuan is the owner of the Baimeng Tower. After finishing her sentence with the young lady, Su Xing Yuan quickly approached Gu Hengsheng and Han Ruiyan, saying, Gu young master, Han young master. She warmly began, the seating arrangements for both of you have been finalized, please follow me. Both were favorably seated right in the center of the large hall, and once settled, Gu Hengsheng lowered his voice to Su Xing Yuan, thank you for your trouble, Madam Su. Su Xing Yuan forced a smile in reply, you are too polite, Gu young master. Once everything was set, she quickly turned and left. With a smile on his lips, Su Xing Yuan said, I will go arrange the ceremony first, and I will come back to toast the young master later. At this moment, Gu Hengsheng only noticed the infatuated gaze of the boy Han Ruiyan towards Su Xing Yuan. The boy was also exclaiming, that figure is so hot. After a while, all the lights in the hall went out, leaving only the stage illuminated. Su Xing Yuan stepped forward and said, today, Baimeng Tower has a group of stunning newcomers. Gentlemen, feel free to place your bids on those you find attractive. As soon as Su Xing Yuan finished speaking, a group of young ladies in red dresses stepped out one after another. At first glance, these young ladies were all exquisite and graceful. Then, soft music began to play along with gentle and fluid movements of the dancers. The young ladies, like flowers and jade, began to dance. Han Ruiyan took a glance and his eyes sparkled. He kept saying, Brother Gu, look at that woman's legs, they are so white. Brother Gu, that beauty just glanced at me. Gu Hengxing scolded him slightly, little guy, pay attention to your image. Hearing this, Han Ruiyan showed doubt and asked, Brother Gu, have we had an image since childhood? This question from Han Ruiyan left Gu Hengsheng at a loss for words. Beside them, a voice rang out, this group has better quality than the previous ones. It turned out to be someone from Feng Zhang's table. He lewdly remarked, especially the two in the middle, their figures are incredible, really something to behold. At this moment, Gu Hengsheng also looked up, confused, to see what was so special. The people in the middle, it wasn't hard to observe, and his gaze quickly glanced over to the two in the center performing, but he also assessed, the talent of those two really isn't bad. The people who caught Gu Hengsheng's attention made Han Ruiyan want to take a look too, so he turned to peek, saying, hey, let me see. However, when he saw them, Han Ruiyan stood frozen in place. He looked at Gu Hengsheng with a judgmental gaze, even moving his chair a bit further away, feeling a little scared inside, oh my, aren't they men? Brother Gu actually likes this kind. The music stopped when the applause of Su Xing Yuan rang out, and she smiled and said, this is the entire group of newcomers today at Baimeng Tower, welcoming everyone with sincere choices. Just as the sentence ended, cheers rang out, I want that young lady. The one who cried the most belongs to me. Hey, what's wrong with you guys? Don't you know the rules? However, there wasn't a single smile on the faces of those young ladies, they only looked forced and reluctant. The men were still arguing noisily. I want one man and one woman to serve in turns. Don't steal the ones I'm interested in. When Gu Hengsheng looked at those young ladies, he thought of his painful past. In my previous life, I was an orphan since childhood, a piece of meat on the chopping block, so I clearly understand the hatred and helplessness of being at the mercy of others. At that moment, Han Ruian supported his chin and sighed, Brother Gu, if it weren't for our master's strictness, I really would want to buy 2 people, what a pity, what a pity. Gu Hengsheng calmly stood up under Han Ruian's gaze, then he said loudly, I want all of them. Hearing Gu Hengsheng's suggestion, Su Xingyuan couldn't hide his shock as he asked, Gu young master, did I hear you wrong? You want all the young ladies here? Gu Hengsheng did not hesitate to repeat. No matter whether they are men or women, I'll take them all. After hearing his words, the other guests couldn't hold back their murmurs. I've long heard that the young master of the Gu family is quite wanton, but I never expected him to be this extravagant. Someone suddenly stood up boldly and retorted, Gu third, do you even know the rules? If you buy them all, doesn't that mean we came here for nothing? Feng Jiang, who was beside him, immediately agreed, exactly, and not to mention, you still have a marriage engagement with the Li family. Zhao Ren, also feigning dissatisfaction with Gu Hengsheng, quickly added, eating from the bowl while eyeing the pot, with an appetite that big, aren't you afraid you'll die in bed? Gu Hengsheng didn't show the slightest displeasure towards them. He calmly replied, do the 3 of you still remember our bet from before? As soon as Gu Hengsheng finished speaking, the cold air enveloped the trio, and they were suddenly filled with dread. Dark memories of that day quickly flooded back. The night was silent, without a sound, the moon clear and the wind gentle. At that moment, Feng Jiang and the others were lurking near the Li family's residence. He whispered, now that there's no one around, Gu third, hurry up. Gu Hengsheng stood there, skeptical, and asked, sneaking into the Li family. Is this really okay? They all leaned against the wall, pretending to be serious. Feng Jiang assured, don't worry, we will keep an eye on you. Zhao Ren quickly added, as long as you dare to take a look at Lady Li family, we will accept you as our big brother. Han Ruian beside him chimed in, right, right. Gu Hengsheng remained silent for a moment to consider, and finally he stepped over Feng Jiang and climbed the wall to sneak into the Li residence. Reflecting on the chilling memory, the 3 of them shared a common thought, if the Li family finds out that Gu Hengsheng teased Lady Li family because we urged him to, we are definitely dead. On this side, Gu Hengsheng suddenly made a decisive move, if you 3 don't remember, then this young master will take you to the Li family, and we can slowly revisit the past. Just as Gu Hengsheng turned around, the guy finally called him to halt without hesitation. Gu Hengsheng turned around, his gaze judgmental as he asked, what's the matter? Do you still want to fight me? Without needing to say more, the 3 immediately crowded around, flattering him warmly, brother, no, big brother, we remember everything, no need to remind us. The boss wants all the newcomers, and none of us have any objections anymore. Right, 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 starting from today, whatever the boss says goes. Han Ruian sat quietly observing, feeling a sense of depression as he watched the group's sudden change in attitude. I was also involved in the previous matter, luckily my relationship with Brother Gu is good, so he didn't say anything. After gauging their opinions, Gu Hengsheng turned to ask Su Xingyuan. Ms. Su, they have agreed, do you think this deal can be done? Su Xingyuan cautiously replied. Since Gu young master has spoken, of course, it can be done, but this price is not a small amount. Hearing this, Gu Hengsheng immediately directed his gaze towards Feng Jiang's group and signaled. You know what to do, right? Then the 3 of them rushed in to compete. I'll pay, how can I let the boss spend his own money? That's not how it works, we juniors definitely won't give way. Han Ruian thought to himself, feeling extremely depressed. Buying all the people without needing to pay, this move by Brother Gu is truly amazing. A voice calling from Gu Hengsheng came from over there. Little Un, let's go. Time passed by, and the night grew deeper. Han Ruian's somewhat melancholic voice broke the silence. Brother Gu, today was quite thrilling. He glanced at the bold group behind and continued, but if your master sees these people, you might not have any sweet rewards to enjoy. Gu Hengsheng responded casually, instead of worrying about me, you should take care of yourself first. If you come home a bit later, your father might just beat you to death. Not mentioning it was fine, but as soon as it was mentioned, Han Ruian felt scared. He exclaimed, "Oh no, I almost forgot, let's hurry." In the backyard of the courtyard, the people Gu Hengsheng brought back were lined up neatly, obediently waiting. Then, he stepped out, his face maintaining a serious expression. Since acquiring these people, he observed that they couldn't hide their fear and reluctance, always bowing their heads in self-doubt. Gu Hengsheng leisurely sat down and commanded, "Everyone, lift your heads for this young master." Upon receiving the order, the group complied obediently and raised their heads. Gu Hengsheng's cold gaze swept over them, and he spoke up. "No wonder it's by Meng Tower, it can find so many beauties like this." Everyone was timid in front of Gu Hengsheng, not daring to act recklessly. Gu Hengsheng glanced over again and finally set his gaze on a girl who had decent looks and assessed, the age is just right, and the talent is not bad. At that moment, the girl met Gu Hengsheng's gaze and immediately turned pale. Without waiting any longer, she rushed out and knelt before Gu Hengsheng, fearfully crying, "I beg you, young master, don't kill me, I am scared, I do not want to die." Gu Hengsheng remained seated in silence, then he spoke, "All right, when did this young master say he wanted to kill you?" The girl looked up, her eyes still wet. Gu Hengsheng stood up and said, "Now this young master gives you two choices. First, from now on follow this young master to work, obey orders and act." At this point, he suddenly paused, dumping his bag of silver onto the table, countless coins falling out, leaving the bag in Gu Hengsheng's hand empty. Then he continued, "Second, take 10 taels of silver and leave here." The others began to look at each other and whisper, "What, did you buy us and then let us go?" A girl with platinum hair said suspiciously in a low voice. "Two choices, two completely different paths, can we really choose?" A boy replied softly. "These powerful figures of the capital are always unpredictable, who knows if they will go back on their word in the next moment." Just as they were feeling scared and doubtful, Gu Hengsheng spoke up. "You are not even worth this young master lying to you." Then Gu Hengsheng stepped back, distancing himself from them, and added, "The money is here, how you choose is up to you." The girl kneeling on the ground looked up at the silver on the table, and then she tremblingly crawled forward, quickly grabbing the silver. She asked nervously, "Can I leave now?" Without hesitation, Gu Hengsheng replied, "Go ahead." Hearing this, she was momentarily taken aback, then she glanced at the other girl beside her and saw that someone had successfully taken the money, so she felt no more fear and immediately joined the others to take the silver. Gu Hengsheng's gaze softened as he watched them scramble in front of him and thought, "The opportunity has been given, as for the future, that is your business." Time passed like this, and after a while, the number of people had dwindled. However, quite a few people remained and did not leave. The group was silent, and the scene became quiet again. It was Gu Hengsheng who spoke first. "Why aren't you leaving?" A young man replied softly, "We are all commoners, going any further at night will only get us caught again. By then, we may not encounter someone as good as you again." Gu Hengsheng closed his eyes and asked calmly, "Good person? Do I look like a good person to you?" In his heart, he thought, "Whether in this life or the last, I have blood on my hands. I cannot accept the title of good person." The platinum-haired girl also spoke, "Young master, not only do you not bully us, but you also give us the opportunity to choose for ourselves. We all believe that you are a good person like no other." At this moment, Gu Hengsheng opened his eyes, a bit moved, and said, "Tell me your name." Addressing the young women, Gu Hengsheng added, "I will leave the supervision of you girls to her." The young lady blushed a little, she immediately knelt down and bowed her head to Gu Hengsheng, replying, "Yes, Gong Xin you thanks the young master." He turned his gaze to the other boy and asked, "Then what about you? Why aren't you leaving?" The boy hesitated a bit but then tightened his fists and replied, "I want to be like the young master and not be bullied." Then he boldly said, "There will come a day when I stand at the top, causing others to look up in fear and look down upon the world." Seeing this boy's firm determination, Gu Hengxing felt as if he was looking at his younger self. He thought to himself, in my previous life at this age, I founded the Jianyu Pavilion and began to pursue the great Tao with my own opportunities. Gu Hengxing then placed his hand on the boy's shoulder and said, "Speak your name, and this young master is willing to give you this opportunity to become their leader." The boy quickly cupped his hands in respect to Gu Hengxing and said, "Shangguan Hai will definitely not disappoint the young master." After that, he handed the boy a token and instructed, "Take this and look at the title carefully." Shangguan Hai took the token, and he and Gong Xinu observed it carefully, asking, "Young master, is this?" Under the bright moonlight, Gu Hengxing raised his voice and said, "From now on, you are disciples of Jianyu Pavilion, obey my commands." The two Shangguan Hai stared at him in shock for a few seconds, then everyone understood and knelt before Gu Hengxing, bowing and loudly shouting in unison, respectfully greeting the master pavilion. The night was quiet, and the moon silently hid behind the clouds. Gu Hengxing slowly walked into the courtyard alone. As soon as he stepped forward, curses echoed. "You bastard!" Someone angrily shouted. "Do you still have the face to meet your second uncle?" The travel-worn man, with an angry expression, was Gu Yumo, the second son of Gu Tsang, the blood-fierce general of Tianfeng Kingdom, who had once established a record of heroic victories, causing neighboring countries to change their expressions without saying a word. Gu Hengxing replied politely and softly, "Second uncle, weren't you the one who called me here? How can this still be my fault?" At his calm tone, Gu Yumo became even angrier. He frowned and yelled, "In just one day, you robbed all the new recruits from Baimeng Tower, bullying the young masters of the great families. You've really done quite well, my dear grandson." Gu Hengxing forced a smile and replied, "Second uncle, this is all a small matter. I have my limits." As soon as he finished speaking, the anger in Gu Yumo's eyes intensified. He emphasized each word, "What? Limits?" Gu Yumo was so furious that he was practically fuming. He pointed at his mischievous nephew, his face darkening as he shouted, "Little guy, if you had limits, our Gu family wouldn't have enemies all over the capital. If you could ease my worries, you could be out there chasing flowers and flirting with willows. If you had a bit of ability, wouldn't my and your grandpa's hair turn gray so quickly?" After scolding for a long time, Gu Yumo grew exhausted and started to cough. Gu Hengxing immediately knelt down, saying, "Second uncle, please believe in Hengxing." Gu Yumo's gaze softened yet remained helpless. He placed his hand on his crippled legs and spoke in a tired voice, "Hengxing, if it weren't for your father entrusting me with your care before he passed away, a cripple like me would have committed suicide long ago." Gu Hengxing was startled by these words and called out, "Second uncle." He confidently vowed to the Gu family, "Hengxing swears here, in this life, to restore the honor of the Gu family. Daring and bold in military lineage, I uphold the name of honor and integrity." Gu Hengxing's eyes were serious and resolute. "I must make the world clearly see the everlasting glory of the Gu family." Gu Yumo was momentarily speechless, surprised by this newfound determination in him. He slowly smiled and sighed, "This little guy seems different now." Turning to leave, Gu Yumo said, "In the younger generation of the Gu family, you are the only one left. Second uncle has no other requests, only that you fulfill your duties." He gently advised Gu Hengxing, "It's getting late, you should go rest." Gu Hengxing silently watched as second uncle's figure disappeared and thought, a month from now, the Li family will issue their final message. He clenched his fist firmly, resolving, "I must accelerate my pace." As night faded and dawn broke, sunlight bathed the Gu family estate. Gu Tsang was leisurely pouring tea in his study when a servant suddenly burst in, shouting loudly enough to make him choke on his tea. "Master, the young master is at the front hall and wishes to see you." Gu Tsang, surprised, wiped his mouth and asked, "Cough, what is it?" He couldn't help but feel a sense of doubt in his heart. This little guy, on days he doesn't sleep until the sun rises, what's gotten into him today? In the Gu family hall, Gu Hengxing was dressed neatly as he came to pay his respects to Gu Tsang. "Grandfather, Hengxing is here to see you." Gu Tsang frowned, his tone reproachful. "Did you cause trouble at Baimeng Tower yesterday and want me to resolve it for you? I heard from your second uncle." Gu Hengxing smiled foolishly to appease him. Grandfather, you're overthinking it, I just came to pay my respects and chat a bit. After he spoke, Gutsang got angry and pointed his finger, shouting loudly. What nonsense! You haven't even stepped over the Lee family's pit yet, so don't expect me to have the mood to clean up your mess. After listening to the scolding for a while, Gu Hengxing finally spoke up. I want to say, I want to leave the capital. Gu Tsang was taken aback. What? He explained calmly. Moreover, I hope you can withdraw the experts to protect me in secret. Upon hearing this, Gu Tsang was agitated and worried. You rascal, if I pull all the experts away from you with your capabilities for causing trouble, you won't survive in the slightest. Gu Hengxing seriously suggested to him. Please believe me, I won't make you worry and disappoint you anymore. Gu Tsang was a bit surprised by Gu Hengxing's attitude and thought to himself, the aura of this little guy has completely lost its impulsiveness and has become more composed. Given the current unrest in the capital, it might actually be a good thing for this little guy to go out and avoid it. After thinking for a while, Gu Tsang asked, where do you want to go after leaving the capital? Gu Hengxing replied calmly, to the sword void, to cultivate the sword body. The sky was clear today, and the warm sunlight shone throughout the Gu family estate. Gu Tsang stood up abruptly, his voice filled with anger as he shouted, What? The sword void? That's where a peak dynasty was annihilated 1,000 years ago, 3,000 miles of sword void, 3 million dead souls. He glared at him in anger and asked, Little rascal, have you caused enough trouble in the capital that you now want to seek death? Gu Hengxing had a hardship he couldn't express and replied, Of course, I understand the dangers involved, but I have reasons that I cannot ignore. Gu Tsang looked at him with a serious expression and then stood up to leave. As he walked past him, he angrily said, I did not agree, what a scoundrel. Gu Hengxing clenched his fists tightly. One moment he shouted, Grandfather, and the next he was kneeling and bowing his head in front of Gu Tsang. He suddenly spoke up and said, Little guy, you. While kneeling, he pleaded, Grandfather, I really understand things now, please believe me this time. Gu Tsang looked helplessly at the little guy before him and thought, usually Hengxing creates great trouble but has never knelt and begged like this before. He also softened and asked, Give this old man a reason. Gu Hengxing then sincerely replied, I want to become strong, to rebuild the prestige of our Gu family. Then he looked up at him, his gaze firm as he continued, to once again establish the power of our Gu family on Baigua's land so that countless living beings in the world do not dare to underestimate us. Gu Tsang was stunned for a moment, then stared at him in shock, thinking, for all these years, I have been looking for various skills for Hengxing, hoping that one day he could escape the title of being a crippled body by birth, but all of it has been in vain. I can only watch him become more and more dilapidated. He felt tears welling up and quietly exclaimed in his heart, Hengxing has grown up. Gu Tsang suppressed his emotions and coldly asked him, Do you have a specific plan yet? He eagerly replied, Yes. Gu Tsang was secretly pleased and continued, Then go, and make sure to return in a month. Gu Hengxing was stunned for a long time, then he quickly reacted and bowed his head, saying, I will definitely not disappoint your expectations. Gu Tsang was quietly observing him leave from his sight when suddenly a figure appeared behind him, saying, Master, why not let a subordinate secretly escort the little young master? It turned out that the owner of the voice was an old man with white hair. He was Yi Bo, the butler of the Gu family, who had followed Gu Tsang through battles, bloodily conquering lands, and was Gu Tsang's right-hand man. He put on a facade of anger and said, No need, let him go. If he doesn't return in a month, I will lead hundreds of thousands of troops to dig up his remains. Yi Bo looked at him helplessly and sighed, but in his heart, he thought, Hengxing must come back. The scene shifted to a small manor, where Gu Hengxing was leisurely sitting in a chair enjoying a cup of tea. A group of children that he took in was gathered around, staring at the book he handed to them. A boy picked up the book and asked, Is this the skill that the young master wants to teach us? He closed his eyes, holding the half-finished cup of tea, and replied, This is the magic formula to access the sect of the human profound realm. You need to start from the most basic cultivation since you have none. Gu Hengxing stood up, putting his hands behind his back. He looked at the bewildered children and continued, besides cultivation, this young master has also sent people to teach you writing, letters, and poetry. Then suddenly, he put on a serious face and continued, but you must keep this a secret. If you dare to leak it outside, this young master will punish you severely. The children's faces turned pale after hearing his words. They quickly knelt down, bowing their heads in unison and replied, Young master, don't worry, we will not let you down. At that moment, a white-haired boy looked up and saw him turning to leave. He then asked, Is the young master leaving? He walked away without saying a word, and the path to the sword void training officially began. Right at that moment, in Shachen town, a desolate and dilapidated place with no signs of life. Amidst the howling winds, Yen Shing gradually emerges. He slowly opens his eyes and looks at the surrounding scenery. Yen Shing observes his surroundings and silently thinks to himself, just being in Shachen town near Sword Void, I can clearly feel the sharpness of that sword chi, which was created by a swordsman 100 years ago. The fierce battle scene comes to mind. The legend of that swordsman is that he, due to love, angered a certain sharp-nosed dynasty and was besieged to death. It was an unbalanced battle in terms of strength, with the swordsman fighting against countless troops alone. With a single swing of his sword, before long the entire city was engulfed in death, and in that moment, the city was instantaneously destroyed. Countless cultivation experts within the city became spirits beneath the sword aura. Yen Shing closes his eyes in contemplation, one sword creating a stance for 3,000 miles, the title, Sword Supreme, of this senior is indeed justified. Yen Shing thinks as he walks forward, he very likely not only touched the heaven profound realm, but may have even stepped into the heaven profound realm. At this moment, it seems he has discovered something that leaves him a bit stunned. Yen Shing looked at the presence of an inn amidst the desolate surroundings in every direction, thinking to himself, due to the destruction caused by sword chi, Shachen town has long been abandoned, yet there are still people opening an inn here. He slowly walked inside. There were no guests in the inn, only an old man there. The old man was intently sharpening a knife, seemingly unaware of his presence. Suddenly, a voice called out, Grandfather. A beautiful girl came out and said, There is a guest, why are you still standing there? The old man continued to concentrate on sharpening the knife without responding. The girl quickly approached and asked, Have I kept the young master waiting? What do you need? Yen Shing immediately replied, Just bring some food and wine casually. The girl cheerfully responded, Then the young master is in for a treat. I have the finest Baiguo wine that I brewed, I will bring it to the young master. Time passed quickly, and before long, night fell, with the moon rising high. Yen Shing was currently practicing in his room. He thought to himself, before entering the sword void, I still need to prepare a bit. At this moment, streams of red energy quickly appeared around Yen Shing. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. He looked at the breeze blowing in through the window. Yen Shing silently told himself, after a few days of calm, I have finally stepped into the mid-stage of the human profound realm. He then glanced down at his hands, and after a moment, he clenched them tightly. He felt a bit of joy and thought to himself, I can sense my strength has increased several times compared to before. Yen Shing quietly made a resolution, this journey to the sword void, this young master must succeed. The sunlight quickly emerged. After a night of rest, Yen Shing bid farewell to the innkeeper. Miss Wen, thank you for your hospitality yesterday, the girl cheerfully replied, Young master, please take care. She also asked him, if there is a chance, please take care of the shop's business. Yen Shing turned to look at her and after a moment, he said, I will return. The girl silently saw Yen Shing off. The old man inside just sat there without saying anything, he quietly observed everything with a deep and mysterious gaze, about 3,000 miles of sword void. Yen Shing looked at the wild scenery before him and couldn't help but ponder. 100 years ago, the sword aura still existed. The comprehension of the Sword Supreme regarding the sword is profound, it has reached a state of great achievement. He recalled his own past situation, when I was alive, I learned too many things and didn't refine a single path. Although I stepped into the celestial profound, there were times I felt utterly helpless. Feeling how ironic life could be, he silently told himself, in this life, I want to retrieve the 9-lives sword. The first step I need to take is to borrow countless sword chi from the sword void to create the sword body. He planned to take a step forward, wanting to go, but immediately encountered sword chi. The sword aura grazed his arm, tearing his sleeve. As he stepped forward again, the sword aura struck precisely at his right cheek, and a fresh streak of blood quickly flowed from the cut. Gu Hengxing stopped. He allowed those sword auras to pierce through him, feeling the force of the attack was quite ordinary. He thought, in this life, cultivating the sword, one should be sharp. What is there to fear in the sword stance? Suddenly, he erupted with spiritual energy, unlocking the blood god sword stance formula. This was the initial formation of the sword stance. Can withstand the offensive power of the mid-level spirit profound realm. The loyal sword stance can shake the early-stage strong earth profound realm. If reaching the great level, there is nothing to fear from the strong heaven profound realm. His gaze was exceptionally bright, unleashing the essence and spirit to form a powerful armor. This is the accumulation of human tier, spirit tier, earth tier, and celestial tier in order with basic level, intermediate level, and advanced level. The higher the skill grade, the deeper his divine sect and the more power he possesses. Gu Hengxing's body detected a flexible transformation. His calves tightened and audaciously tore through the thin fabric of his pants, revealing strong shins. His upper body also cracked, with layers of clothing shredded by the sharp sword chi. He emanated an immense and extraordinary essence, indicating that the blood god sword stance formula was an exceptionally rare high-level earth tier skill. The surroundings were filled with mist. On the barren and desolate cliff, night soon arrived. The fog thickened, turning the wild nature into a lonely and frightening wilderness. The sky was filled with dark clouds. Layers upon layers seemed to rush forth to devour the moon. With the 9-lives sword technique at the low earth level, consisting of a total of 9 forms, if he could master the final sword, it would be enough to annihilate spirits, possessing extremely domineering sharpness. Gu Hengxing had been cultivating for some time, and his body bore deep marks of incomprehensible seals, with blood chi surrounding him like a layer of strong spiritual armor. His gaze was bright as the moon, his brow furrowed tight as he focused on his cultivation. His hands clenched tightly as he concentrated on analyzing the blood god sword stance entry level, his cultivation having reached the late human profound realm, yielding significant results. Having completed the cultivation method, he still felt a bit dissatisfied, a sense of inadequacy. Unfortunately, the benefits that the sword void could bring were limited. He was unsure if there would be other opportunities. Gu Hengxing looked up at the night sky, the tranquility making him alert to the rays of light in front of him. In the distance, a strange sharp light illuminated a portion of the sky. He observed it with a hint of curiosity, thinking, is there something up there? Gradually, the intensity of the light increased. The blackened beam of sword aura seemed to grow more frenzied. It flickered and shone like a treasure, increasingly captivating Gu Hengxing's attention. He watched it mesmerized, and after a while, suddenly realized, could this sword aura be the perfected sword intent left behind by the Sword Supreme? Immediately, he sprang into action, launching himself like an arrow toward the dazzling glow. He reached out with his hand to touch the sword aura, almost feeling its true spiritual energy. Gu Hengxing grasped it tightly in his hand, using his whole body to sense the power of the sword chi. Excited, he thought, perfect timing, if I can refine a part of the perfected sword intent from the Sword Supreme, I can surely enhance my comprehension of the 9-lives sword. Suddenly, the sword intent thrashed in Gu Hengxing's grasp, the force trying to pull it away from his hand as if it wanted to escape. He focused on its movements and furrowed his brow, analyzing, its actions seemed to be struggling. He then said, this young master wants to see how long you can endure in my hands. He tightened his grip on the sword intent and unleashed, one sword to break the limitations, the distance of life and death is bridged. The sword intent quickly dissolved completely, absorbed into Gu Hengxing's spirit. He looked on with delight. It's done, the 9-lives sword, the first style, the faint stream of energy gradually faded, the brilliant radiance also disappeared. The dazzling light seemed to be obscured by an invisible physical form, leaving only a dim glow on the stone slab not far from him. On the slab, a few lines of writing could be vaguely seen. In the world, who among you can withstand a strike from me? Years ago, I released it, now where does it open? Gu Hengxing approached and read the inscription on the stone slab. He thoughtfully responded to the reasoning. Back then, when Du Gu Shang was weak, he could not protect his beloved companion, only to find that she was no longer there when he achieved great cultivation. Gu Hengxing felt regret for that expert. A lifetime of genius bound by love, finding a way out is harder than ascending to heaven. After a while, an evil energy of chaotic flames emanated from some deep alley. Gu Hengxing saw it and stood still, waiting for its owner to appear. Soon, the figure emerged, grinning with delight. It's been a long time since I've had the taste of the living. That disgusting name licked its lips with extreme pleasure, looking directly at its exquisite prey. Gu Hengxing scoffed disdainfully and said, "A vengeful spirit that has been dead for 100 years dares to have thoughts about this young master." Its eyes immediately lit up. At the same time, it summoned several skulls resembling spirits to surround and prepare to attack Gu Hengxing. It roared, "A little ignorant human profound realm child dares to be so arrogant, let's see how I tear you apart." As soon as it finished speaking, the pale green skulls instantly flew towards Gu Hengxing. But unexpectedly, an invisible shield of sword aura surrounded him, preventing them from getting close. The vengeful spirit stared wide-eyed in shock and stammered, You can actually control the sword chi left by the Sword Supreme, who are you?" Gu Hengxing had no intention of answering, simply stating, "A tiny vengeful spirit, since you've come, then don't leave." After saying this, he immediately shouted, "9 lives sword, first form." A dazzling light appeared above Gu Hengxing, transforming into thousands of sword intents that struck down upon the skulls. Everything was pierced through, reduced to smoke. Seeing this scene, the vengeful spirit seriously thought, "This is not good, if this continues, I will perish." Gu Hengxing noticed its inner worry and offered a suggestion, "Give me a trace of your vengeful spirit and swear blood allegiance to me, perhaps I can spare your life." Upon hearing this, a strong thought echoed in the vengeful spirit's mind, "No, I still have unfulfilled obsessions, I cannot just die here." It screamed loudly and opened its mouth wide, releasing numerous dark red auras. Immediately, these blood chi flew towards Gu Hengxing. He said with satisfaction, "The blood oath has been established. Now that you recognize me as your master, hurry and reveal your true form." The vengeful spirit complied, unleashing a fierce wave of resentment, preparing to transform. The thick resentment gradually dissipated, revealing a handsome man shrouded in red light. As soon as he opened his eyes, he instantly knelt and respectfully said, "Yen Shing pays respect to the master." Gu Hengxing glanced at the figure below and silently thought, "This person looks neither human nor ghost. How can we lead him out to meet people?" After thinking, he stretched out his hand and calmly said, "Yen Gu, now this young master will teach you the skill of Vane's ghost cultivators. It is called Heavenly She Ghost Path. When you enter the earth profound realm, you can condense your blood and flesh into a physical form, truly coming back to life." Yen Ji's eyes widened in shock as he stared at the golden point on his forehead being pointed out by Gu Hengxing, instinctively repeating, "Heavenly She Ghost Path, the master's method, Vane's ghost cultivators, Heavenly Tao does not tolerate, 9 lives calamity, every life is a trial." Once finished, Gu Hengxing added, "What achievements you can have in the future will depend on your magical powers." Yen Gu immediately bowed his head and gratefully said, "Master's great kindness, Gu has no way to repay. From now on, as long as the master needs, Gu wouldn't fear death in any circumstance." At this moment, Gu Hengxing turned away and simply said, "In the future, no need to call yourself a servant, you can be a bit more casual." From the other side came a quick reply, "Yes, master." Now they arrived at another place in the sword void. Gu Hengxing's back was very steady as he slowly lifted the sword in his hand and brought it before him. Then he calmly shouted, "The first sword's cold light rises, the distance of life and death stretches 1,000 miles. According to his call, a beam of light struck out like a powerful lightning bolt, reaching hundreds of miles away. Gu Hengxing thought to himself for a moment, after 10 days of training, not only has my sword intent reached a minor success, but my cultivation has also reached the late human profound realm, barely making it through. Yen Shing, observing from the side, couldn't help but sigh inwardly. No one can comprehend sword intent in the human profound realm. Even the Sword Supreme from 100 years ago could only grasp sword intent after reaching the peak of the spirit profound realm. The master must have once been a supreme figure of the heaven profound realm, perhaps even a terrifying great power surpassing the heaven profound realm. As he was still contemplating, a voice suddenly called out, "Yen Shing, come here." He hurried over and clasped his hands, calling out, "Master." Gu Hengxing spoke in a low voice, "Now I must conceal your soul aura before I can lead you out of the sword void. The process may be a bit uncomfortable, you must endure it." Yen Qinggu immediately replied without hesitation, "Yes." Gu Hengsheng began to chant the incantation, Mong Tian's secret technique, using the soul as a cover, using the body as a boundary, guiding the energy into the body, concealing the secret eyes. Yen Qingji's body immediately underwent a transformation, countless mixed red and white auras escaping from him. Gu Hengsheng reached out to absorb all of this chaotic soul energy, gradually gathering it into one place until it became a deep red orb floating in his hand. Gu Hengsheng held it and slowly walked towards the cliff. Under the sunset, a column of white smoke rose from the old house. The shopkeeper lady standing inside appeared surprised and involuntarily exclaimed, "Oh." Seeing Gu Hengsheng and a man cloaked in mystery enter, she quickly asked, "Young master, you've come again? Would you like to try our brewed wine once more?" But Gu Hengsheng did not reply. Instead, he walked over to the old man who was polishing a sword. The old man was startled and looked up when he heard Gu Hengsheng's voice asking, "Old man, are you polishing a sword?" Then he looked at the piece of metal the old man was working on and continued, "What you have in your hand is rare iron. When polishing it, a stream of sword energy naturally flows." Gu Hengsheng looked at the old man with a probing gaze and asked, "Old man, you must be a great master of high-level qi refining, right?" The old man softly replied, "The world today." The old man looked straight into his eyes and said, "Only one person is worthy of the sword created by me." Gu Hengsheng cheerfully replied, asking, "May I know who could be praised by you like that?" The old man frowned and said 3 words with a glance, "Du Gu Shang." Upon hearing this name, the wine bottle in the girl's hand suddenly fell, and she showed a worried expression as she repeated, "Sword. Sword Supreme Du Gu Shang." Gu Hengsheng's face turned cold as he pondered. Du Gu Shang is indeed the unparalleled Sword Supreme who dominated the Baiguo region 100 years ago and was the creator of the 3,000-mile sword void. The old man turned his head to look at Gu Hengsheng when he heard him call, "Old man." Gu Hengsheng respectfully clasped his hands and sincerely said, "I want to invite you to forge a sword for me." Upon hearing this, the old man was momentarily stunned before he laughed, "Aha, you want me to forge a sword for you?" Gu Hengsheng smiled and affirmed, "Old man, I am not joking with you." The old man looked at him with a disdainful expression and asked, daring to speak boldly, "Telling me to forge a sword for you, what do you rely on?" Gu Hengsheng confidently responded, "I will use the sword you forged to eliminate all the enemies of the world. We will use the sword you forged to make a name for ourselves across the 4 seas. I will wield the sword that you put your heart and soul into, making it worthy of the reputation of your treasured blade." Hearing this, the old man frowned in surprise, but quickly closed his eyes, not believing the words he heard. "Do you think that just by relying on a few boastful words can I be convinced to sharpen the sword for you?" Gu Hengsheng then displayed his sword intent to prove his words. The pressure from the sword intent struck the opposite wall with such force that it shattered a section of it. Upon seeing this, the old man was astonished to recognize it as sword intent. He could not believe the situation before him and thought to himself, "Sword intent, from minor realm to major realm, how can this be?" The girl, however, became furious and shouted, "My tavern, you bastard, how dare you smash my establishment?" The old man cleared his throat and reminded, "Xiao Mei, step back, do not be disrespectful." Although Xiao Mei was angry, she had to grit her teeth and swallow her rage, replying, "Oh, grandfather." Gu Hengsheng kept his friendly smile and asked again, "How is the old man feeling now?" He reluctantly closed his eyes and compromised. "Little guy, how long did it take you to comprehend the sword intent to a minor degree?" Gu Hengsheng replied calmly. In fact, I've been cultivating the sword intent for about 10 days. Hearing this, the old man was stunned, thinking, what? 10 days? Is this person even real? Truly extraordinary. Then the old man stroked his chin and said, Xiao Mei, go bring me the black sword box from my room. Upon hearing this, Xiao Mei quickly went to get the black sword box for the old man and said, Grandfather. The box was opened, revealing a sword radiating powerful spiritual weapon energy. Seeing it, Gu Hengsheng said, this sword is called Jing Hong. He picked up the sword to examine it and said, the Jing Hong sword, a soul-shaking blade, shedding rivers of blood. Then he swung the sword, causing the sword intent to manifest as a green dragon. Gu Hengsheng unleashed a strike as light as a feather, yet it caused the house to explode, smoke and flames billowing everywhere. Gu Hengsheng gazed at the sword in his hand and sighed, this sword enhances my power by nearly 6 parts of its might, truly a treasured sword. Xiao Mei watched her shop being blown up by him, furious, she shouted, ah, my tavern, you scoundrel, why did you do this? Behind Xiao Mei, Yen Shing's voice rang out, this is the compensation from our young master, I hope you accept it. Seeing the check in Yen Shing's hand made Xiao Mei's eyes light up with excitement, and her face flushed as she happily said, how about asking your young master to take a few more swings? Hearing this, Yen Chenggu was speechless and didn't know what to say. Gu Hengsheng pondered, in the future, as my cultivation improves, the help of the Jing Hong sword will only diminish. He turned to the old man and asked, old man, the Jing Hong sword is good, but you can't expect me to use it forever, can you? The old man said nothing, turned away, and continued sharpening the sword. His hoarse voice echoed, 3 years from now, if you can take another step forward, come find me again. Hearing this, Gu Hengsheng responded joyfully, all right, I will personally come to Shachen town to seek the great master for the treasured sword in 3 years. The sky was blue, the space quiet, and the wind rustled through the trees. Gu Tsang hurriedly rushed in from outside, anxious as he said, the little guy is back, hurry up and let me take a look. Gu Hengsheng smiled with squinted eyes, stretching out his arms to embrace him. Grandfather, Gu Tsang was moved and hugged his grandson tightly. Little guy, you know to come back. If you had stayed out any longer, I would have sent the troops to fetch you. Gu Yumo calmly inquired. Hengsheng, where did you go? Did you bring anything back? Gu Hengsheng lowered his head, looking remorseful. Hengsheng is useless, still lacks any ability as before. Gu Tsang and Gu Yumo were extremely surprised, momentarily at a loss for words. Gu Yumo returned to his calm demeanor and carefully advised Gu Hengsheng. Then prepare yourself, in 2 days the Li family and our Gu family will form a bond. Gu Tsang stepped closer to reassure his grandson. Little guy, don't worry. This matter has already been approved by the higher-ups, you won't be bullied when you go to the Li family. Gu Hengsheng remained silent for a long time, his expression thoughtful and unclear as to what he was thinking. The 2 elders looked at him with concern, and after a while, Gu Hengsheng softly spoke. Hengsheng understands, please rest assured, grandfather and second uncle. After saying this, Gu Hengsheng quietly left. At this moment Gu Yumo clearly showed signs of anger and helplessness. He gritted his teeth tightly, his voice trembling. Why is it that our Gu family is filled with talents, yet at Hengsheng's place, even the sword void cannot change its crippled body? Gu Tsang helplessly closed his eyes, thinking, is it that heaven wants our Gu family to perish? Outside in the yard, Gu Hengsheng stood there, deep in thought, his mood complex. Grandfather, second uncle, I really want to tell you that I can cultivate now, but I can't. Gu Hengsheng thought about the wicked people always targeting him. The capital city is very deep, if someone with ill intentions discovers that I can cultivate, it would mean that my days ahead will be full of danger. The perilous situation made Gu Hengsheng always cautious. I am not like before, every step I take must be firm, or it will put the Gu family in eternal ruin. In the dark and gloomy cave, Gu Hengsheng was instructing the person across from him, Yen Shing, tonight I want you to step into the earth profound realm, truly stepping into the path of ghost cultivators, and condense your physical form. Yen Shing was a bit surprised, tonight? Master, you might be a bit too hasty, if it were an ordinary person, it would take at least 3 years. Gu Hengxing coldly interrupted him, I am saving you not out of charity, but because I see your value for my use. If you cannot do it, then get lost back to Sword Void. Yen Gu, feeling tense, did not dare to voice any objections. He tightened his fists, silently grateful, it is the master who has given me a chance to live again, how could I let him down? Yen Gu clasped his hands respectfully and accepted the order, with the master's command, the subordinate will definitely expend all efforts to complete it. From the outside looking in, the cave, dark and gloomy, was surrounded by many mountains. Gu Hengxing sat down leisurely, the path of ghosts does not tolerate what heaven and earth contain. If you want to step into the veins of ghost cultivators, you must experience every scene from your past life. Yen Gu sat opposite him, following Gu Hengxing's guidance, and began to cultivate. If one loses focus and is distracted during cultivation, they will surely lose themselves, be punished by heaven, and have their soul dissipate. Yen Gu concentrated intensely, his brows furrowed, as his voice echoed with instructions. Yen Gu memorized it carefully, an image of a baby held in someone's arms surfaced. Yen Gu vaguely thought, this is me, followed by the image of him playing with his parents in his childhood. As a father, there is also a mother, and another image appears, with Yen Gu standing next to some girl, he vaguely cannot see her clearly. This young woman feels too familiar to me. In the distance, the image of Yen Gu's parents happily watching the two of them can be seen. The image changes again, showing the brutal and painful scene of his parents being murdered, with two strangers holding knives, their cruel words echoing, this pitiful amount of money is truly from a poor ghost. Yen Gu is stunned, watching his parents being killed right before his eyes, his gaze bloodshot with rage and hatred, his mouth continuously murmuring, you all must die. The scene transitions, the lonely moonlight in the night, two people lying dead on the ground. Yen Gu, covered in blood, murmurs, she is still waiting for me to come back, she is still waiting for me to come back. Behind him, a loud explosion rings out, illuminating the area. Yen Gu, in a daze, turns around, and the next image shows the girl still standing under the cherry blossom tree, waiting, silently shedding tears. Yen Gu, you broke your promise. Yen Gu, gaunt and forlorn, approached the girl with a sorrowful gaze. He extended his hand toward her in a daze, as her image gradually faded with the cherry blossom petals. Tears streamed down his face as Yen Gu painfully called out her name, Hua Chang. Gu Hengxing looked at him, suddenly alarmed. Yen Gu radiated an evil energy, his face contorting like a monster, eyes shining with terrifying teeth. Gu Hengxing hurriedly called to him, Yen Gu, wake up, don't be trapped by the dream enchantment. In the ominous sky, a powerful lightning bolt struck down. Gu Hengxing looked up and thought to himself, this is not good, the heavens are about to strike, I can't delay any longer. Gu Hengxing placed his hand on Yen Gu's shoulder, quickly waking him, Yen Gu, come back to yourself. In his eyes, there was only an empty whiteness. At this moment, Yen Gu gradually calmed down, emitting streams of blood qi from his body. Gu Hengxing finally let out a sigh of relief, thinking, he has successfully broken through to the earth profound realm and is now condensing his flesh and blood. Just as Yen Gu was calm, he suddenly panicked and screamed out, Master, that is the thunder tribulation. In the high sky, a bolt of lightning struck down fiercely. Yen Gu panicked and gritted his teeth. His body was still condensing, unable to move, it was certain that he would die this time. The thunder tribulation struck the stony mountain mercilessly with immense power. Yen Gu tightly shut his eyes, prepared to endure. But after a while, he still did not feel any pain, so he opened his eyes to check. Gu Hengxing unexpectedly blocked a bolt of the thunder tribulation for Yen Gu with his sword. This strike did not harm him at all. Yen Gu was taken aback, staring at him wide-eyed. Gu Hengxing reminded him, Yen Gu, focus on your cultivation. This young master will return shortly. Gu Hengxing soared high into the sky. He gently landed on the peak of the mountain, calmly observing a dense storm of heavenly thunder before him. Gu Hengxing, feeling a bit resentful, said, Heavenly Tao old man, in my past life during the reincarnation process, you severely injured my divine soul, causing this young master to be less intelligent for 20 years. He pointed his sword forward seriously, but in this life, my Mong Tian's secret technique has long been perfected, and I will not give you any opportunity again. Gu Hengsheng raised his sword and began to execute the swordsmanship technique, Mong Tian's secret technique, using the soul as a cover, using the spirit as a boundary, guiding the qi into the body. He thrust the sword into the ground and unleashed his move, loudly declaring, "Expose the hidden eyes." The formation was quickly established by Gu Hengsheng, launching an attack straight towards the heavenly thunder above. At that moment, looking toward Yen Shing, he had always followed Gu Hengsheng's instructions, focusing on his cultivation. However, Yen Shing suddenly felt that the overwhelming pressure from earlier had vanished, and his body had been restored. At the same time, Gu Hengsheng entered with his sword, appearing unharmed. Yen Shing immediately rushed out to ask, "Master, are you alright?" Gu Hengsheng replied, "I'm fine. With the Mong Tian's secret technique here, the heavens can't find a target, and the tribulation will naturally avoid me." Yen Shing questioned, "There's one point that I don't understand, why did the tribulation suddenly change its target to you, Master?" Gu Hengsheng lowered his gaze and answered, "Because I am like you, having been reborn once. The difference is that I meddled with the heavenly cycle and faced divine rejection, thus, I am further distanced from the heavenly Tao." Yen Qinggu was astonished and thought to himself, with the heavenly Tao's suppression, the master can still successfully reincarnate. This means that in the last life, the master was a great power supreme in the heaven profound realm. Gu Hengsheng sternly asked, "What about you? You were originally at the peak of the strong spirit profound realm, and yet a dream mark could also restrain you." At this point, Yen Qinggu was so frightened by his brother that he broke into a sweat and hurriedly bowed to explain that he was a wretched subordinate who had once made an appointment with an old acquaintance and then helplessly died in the sword void, which led to this obsession. Gu Hengsheng seriously instructed, "Your life is given by me, regardless of your acceptance, only by waiting for the day you help me accomplish my grand plan can you attain freedom." Yen Qinggu bowed in response, acknowledging that he understood. Soon, Gu Hengsheng took Yen Qinggu to meet a few people from Gong Xinu. When they saw him return, they immediately bowed and greeted the master pavilion. Gu Hengsheng introduced the new member to everyone, saying his name is Yen Qinggu and he is the bodyguard of this young master. From now on, he will lead you on cultivation outings. Shang Guanhai then asked, "Does the master pavilion want us to leave the Gu family?" Gong Xinu quickly confirmed. "The skills left behind by the master of the pavilion, we have not delayed a single day in practicing them. Please, Master Pavilion, don't send us away," the group pleaded. However, Gu Hengsheng, not agreeing with their sentiment, quickly countered, "Though the Gu family may be large, compared to the vast world outside, it is but a small place. Do you wish to live your entire lives like ants raised in a nest? I hope that when you return, I will see you in a different light." At that moment, Gu Hengsheng decided to visit the Li mansion to gather some opinions. While waiting, a maidservant came out to pour him tea, warmly saying, "The master is busy with official matters and asks young master to wait here for a moment." Gu Hengsheng simply nodded in response. As she observed the renowned Gu Hengsheng before her, the maid silently thought to herself, "How strange, this Gu third young master doesn't seem like the villainous person in the rumors." While the maid was lost in her thoughts, a man suddenly appeared, without saying anything nice. Instead, he violently shoved the maid hard and shouted, "Get out of the way. Does someone who bullies my sister deserve to drink fine tea like this?" The push caused the maid's hand to be injured, and Gu Hengsheng immediately said, "Go apply some medicine before it leaves a scar." The maid cried uncontrollably and hurriedly replied, "Yes, thank you young master." Gu Hengsheng calmly sat there, glancing at the rude and unruly person, then also asked, "May I ask who you are?" The arrogant individual immediately revealed his identity, "I am Li Xian, cousin of Li Qiu-ro." Gu Hengsheng did not rush to respond but calmly asked, "Are you able to represent the Li family?" Li Xian was momentarily taken aback, but then honestly replied without much thought, "Of course not." Gu Hengsheng straightforwardly informed him, but this young master can represent the Gu family. Do you think that someone as insignificant as you is worthy of standing before this young master? Feeling insulted by Gu Hengsheng's evaluation, Li Yixian couldn't help but angrily shout, "Little guy, how can you speak like that?" Finally, Li Tianyuan made his appearance. With Li Yixian's attitude, he immediately shouted, "Rude." Upon seeing Li Tianyuan, he immediately shrank back, stuttering, "Grandpa, Grandpa." Gu Hengsheng stepped forward and respectfully greeted, "Li Lord." Li Tianyuan glared at his grandson and admonished, "Guests are here, do you want to embarrass someone? Aren't you going to back down?" Under the cold, sharp gaze of Li Tianyuan, Li Yixian hurriedly replied, "Yes, yes, I'll go now, I'll go now." Then Li Tianyuan also sat down in the opposite position to Gu Hengsheng. He didn't say much and immediately refused, "I know why you're here, but you'd best give up on this matter. Allowing a crippled cultivator like you to become a son-in-law of the Li family is already the greatest concession we can make." Gu Hengsheng leisurely enjoyed his tea. He responded, "Who says this young master is a useless person who cannot cultivate?" Hearing this, Li Tianyuan turned his cold gaze towards him, observing Gu Hengsheng for a moment. He thought to himself, "I can't detect any spiritual weapon fluctuations from this little guy." He then said straightforwardly, "With an empty dantian and no energy in your body, calling you a useless person is indeed accurate. To have delusions of grandeur in front of me is truly laughable." Gu Hengsheng said nothing and simply covered his teacup. Then he gently placed the teacup on the table and directly revealed his strength to Li Tianyuan. A purple aura filled the room, and with just one glance, he recognized it. "Is this the aura of the human profound realm peak?" Li Tianyuan said softly to him. Gu Hengsheng seriously stated, "My father, Gu Qingjun, died early for the country, my second uncle, Gu Umo, was crippled on the battlefield, and both of my brothers died young. Li Lord, do you not know how many people in this capital wish for this young master to die as well, to share the fortune of the Gu family?" At this point, Li Tianyuan seemed to understand the issue and realized. He gently tightened his clothing and said, "Yes, the Gu family was full of talents back then, and indeed there are quite a few resentful people in the capital." Li Tianyuan thought to himself, when Gu Hengsheng's two brothers died, he was only 6 years old. If he had already begun to plot at that time, this would be a 14-year ambush. He looked at Gu Hengsheng's demeanor and continued to think, a mind like this monster, absolutely not something an ordinary person could possess. After this line of thought, Li Tianyuan also asked, "Gu young master, today you exposed yourself in front of this old man for the sake of the marriage, do you not fear that I will spread it outside?" Gu Hengsheng remained calm in the face of the storm and replied leisurely, "Li Lord can try to see how many people believe it, I won't stop you." The calm demeanor of Gu Hengsheng, unwavering in the slightest, left Li Tianyuan at a loss. Indeed, to call a rogue who has been indulging for over a decade, only causing trouble and creating scandals, a genius is as absurd as saying that someone with a mind like his is worthy of belief. Li Tianyuan was close to giving in and finally said, "Forget it, even if I agree to the idea of being a son-in-law, it still requires the approval of the military leader." Gu Hengsheng, seemingly aware of everything, replied, "For someone of Li Lord's capabilities, having the military leader change the holy decree shouldn't be a difficult matter. Of course, there's no need for a junior like me to worry." Li Tianyuan, a bit angry, questioned, "Little guy, have you already plotted everything? Did you come here today just to make me your errand boy?" Gu Hengsheng then poured a cup of tea and said, "Drink tea to cool down, at your age, don't get angry, it's bad for your health." Li Tianyuan looked at the cup of tea before him and pondered for a moment. In the serene atmosphere, Li Tianyuan's serious voice rang out, "Tomorrow, come to the Li family." Gu Hengsheng heard it but still didn't understand, so he asked again, "What?" Li Tianyuan received Gu Hengsheng's cup of tea, took a small sip, and replied briefly, "Deliver the betrothal gifts." Time quickly passed, and the group carrying the betrothal gifts stood outside the Li mansion waiting. The scene was very solemn and lively, with Yi Bo personally leading the procession. The old man standing in front solemnly announced, the Gu family has come to the Lee family to propose marriage, offering 5 pieces of jade stone seals, a mid-tier spiritual weapon, a portable bone-cleaving pill of level 3, and a total of 10 barrels of mercury iron, used to forge a spiritual weapon weighing 100 caddies. The crowd gathered like a festive celebration, and someone couldn't help but ask, wasn't it said that today the little young master of the Gu family would live with the Lee family? Why has it turned into bringing betrothal gifts to propose marriage instead? Has the Lee family really agreed to marry their granddaughter to this useless third-generation ancestor? Looking at the pile of betrothal gifts before them, they questioned, isn't this just pushing their child into a burning pit? Li Tianyuan stood at the main gate, seeing the bulky betrothal gifts and commented, it really is deserving of the Gu family, they are quite generous. Yi Bo performed a bow in front of Li Tianyuan in response. The Gu family respects the Lee family, and of course, the betrothal gifts cannot be ambiguous. Remembering the moment when Gu Tsang excitedly chose the betrothal gifts himself, he secretly thought, knowing that the little young master has convinced the Lee family, master is so excited he might throw his back out, just instructing people to carry away the entire treasury of the Gu family. Looking over the group in front of him, Li Tianyuan asked, since the betrothal gifts have been given, where is that little guy? Yi Bo replied seriously, Your Majesty has issued an order for the young master to meet the Holy One, he must have entered the palace by now. Hearing this, Li Tianyuan was a bit stunned, thinking to himself, it seems His Majesty has discovered it. At this moment, the scene shifts to the magnificent palace, where Gu Hengsheng was brought to the imperial study. The young eunuch said to him, Gu young master, please enter, His Majesty has been waiting for a long time. The large door was opened, letting in the light. Gu Hengsheng slowly stepped inside, with Emperor Tianjing, Mo Xiaoyang seated above. Upon entering the hall, Gu Hengsheng bowed and clasped his hands in salute, saying, Gu Hengsheng pays his respects to your majesty. The old eunuch beside him, seeing his actions, shouted, disrespectful. Why aren't you kneeling before his majesty? Gu Hengsheng smiled in response. Your majesty, you know that people are usually accustomed to wandering about and are not familiar with complex rituals, surely you wouldn't hold it against a frivolous person like me? Mo Xiaoyang also stepped forward, observing Gu Hengsheng. He said, indeed, you have acted recklessly before me since you were a child, so I naturally understand you. Mo Xiaoyang gradually moved closer to Gu Hengsheng. At this point, he still maintained his solid demeanor. Mo Xiaoyang, furious and ablaze with anger, asked, Gu Hengsheng, do you understand the crime of disrespecting the emperor while in military command? The old eunuch was also frightened by Mo Xiaoyang's fury. However, at this moment, Gu Hengsheng still responded calmly, Hengsheng believes that there are many voices of scolding outside, but I have never deceived your majesty. I do not know where your majesty's words originate. Mo Xiaoyang remained angry and unsatisfied, questioning, back then, old man Gu followed me to conquer the world, and your father General Qing Jun, and your second uncle Bloody General, who among them was not a unique genius. Yet in the end, you ended up with a body crippled from birth. Yesterday, old Li entered the palace and took the initiative to ask me to change the edict of marrying into the Li family to a proposal for his daughter. I understand Li Tianyuan better than anyone else. If you are truly a congenital crippled body, he absolutely cannot relax. His aura exploded as he asked, I ask you one last time, do you really know about cultivation? Gu Hengsheng was determined to hide it to the end. He replied, Your Majesty is mistaken, Lord Li is willing to marry his granddaughter to me not because of me, but for the Tianfeng kingdom. Gu Hengsheng stood opposite Mo Xiaoyang and continued to explain, My Gu family is a military lineage noble family of the Tianfeng kingdom, representing the dignity of tens of thousands of border soldiers. As the only son of the Gu family, once I marry into the Li family, it will shake the hearts of those tens of thousands of troops. They will think that your majesty does not value loyal ministers who care for the country and the people, leading to bloodshed. Gu Hengsheng smiled subtly and added, Lord Li indeed is unwilling to marry his granddaughter to me, but the alliance between our two families is sanctioned by your majesty. Lord Li, unwilling to make things difficult for your majesty, has agreed to let me marry Lady Li. At this point, Mo Xiaoyang finally calmed down and asked, Oh, is that true? Gu Hengxing feigned uncertainty and responded, it should be. In the end, Mo Xiaoyang also agreed to let it go. He turned and said, forget it, let's not talk about this for now. I'm tired, you can go back first. Gu Hengxing bowed and said, Hengxing takes his leave. As Gu Hengxing turned to leave, the old eunuch respectfully asked Mo Xiaoyang, Your Majesty, do you really believe the words of that Gu little young master? Mo Xiaoyang glanced over and could see clearly. He replied, ridiculous, since he entered this imperial study, has he shown any fear towards me? How could someone with such a mindset be merely a crippled body? The eunuch below asked, then why doesn't your majesty punish him? Mo Xiaoyang found it somewhat amusing and said, let's see how much storm this Gu third young master can stir up in the future. Night fell at Zue Yen restaurant, where many people gathered, creating a lively atmosphere, and a carriage stopped in front of the tavern. Two men appeared confidently as they entered, and a loud voice announced, Welcome, Prince Heisei, welcome, Prince Shixian. The owner of Zue Yen restaurant, Chen Fan, was wiping the sweat from his face and sighed, Oh my god, even the princes have come. The engagement ceremony of the Gu family and the Li family was indeed extraordinary. A waiter was sweating as he asked him, Boss, do we need to add more people? With so many prominent figures present, if something goes wrong, Chen Fan hurriedly instructed the staff, yes, double the number, no, triple it, go arrange it quickly. The two members of the Li family, Li Tianyuan and Li Qiuero, also entered the Zue Yen restaurant. The men blushed, stunned as they watched Li Qiuero, continuously exclaiming, Isn't this the lady from the Li family who supposedly can't speak in those rumors? She's so beautiful. Gu Hengxing stood motionless, staring at her, while Gu Tsang patted him on the shoulder from behind and loudly reminded, Little guy, why are you just standing there? Go over there. The two stood opposite the two members of the Li family. Gu Tsang spoke first, Li old man, you arrived quickly. Li Tianyuan, with a serious face, warned him, Gu old man, my granddaughter is a rare treasure. If she is mistreated in the Gu family in the future, don't blame me for turning hostile. Gu Tsang smiled and assured the elder, rest assured, from now on your granddaughter will be my daughter-in-law. If anyone allows it to suffer injustice, don't say it's him, the old man, won't let him off easily. Li Tianyuan said with satisfaction, is this even considered as the words of a person? Li Tianyuan glanced at Gu Hengxing, who said nothing but smiled at the old man. The old man sighed and thought to himself, it seems Gu old man doesn't know the capabilities of my grandson, otherwise, based on his boasting, he wouldn't be able to tolerate the layout for over a decade. If in the future Gu old man finds out that my grandson has deceived him for so many years, I wonder what expression he will have. Then Li Tianyuan asked Gu Hengxing seriously, today is the day the Gu and Li families have arranged for a marriage, as the party involved, doesn't Gu little young master have anything to say? Li Qiuero stood behind him, wondering to herself, what exactly is so special about Gu Hengxing that makes him worthy of such trust? Suddenly, she saw him smile and approach her. Gu Hengxing made a promise to her, no matter what happens in the future, as long as Lady Li does not betray me, I will absolutely not betray her. The other men were envious of him, frowning and grinding their teeth, and they indignantly said, What? How does this rogue have the face to say such things? Unfortunately, it is a pity that a beauty like her encounters a useless person like Gu Third. Lady Li is the #1 talented woman in the capital, his words may be overly self-congratulatory. Gu Umo, upon seeing his nephew who has offended many people, cannot help but feel worried. This little guy indeed remains an unpredictable person. A young lady carrying a tray containing a brush, ink, and writing paper placed it on the table. Li Qiuero held the brush in one hand and grasped the cuff of her sleeve with the other, quietly writing characters on the paper. Gu Tsang and Gu Hengxing watched her every stroke closely and saw that she wrote the character, fate, on the paper. Gu Hengxing speculated, this means to go with the flow, right? He pondered silently, fate can rise and fall, all is interconnected. My intention in saying this is to gauge Lady Li's thoughts. If she is unwilling, I will, of course, not force it. But unexpectedly, this Lady Li, although from a prestigious family, treats others so decisively, which is quite contrary to what one might expect. After finishing her writing, Li Qiu-ro turned to look at Gu Hengsheng. He clasped his hands together and bowed his head to her. Lady Li, I apologize for my previous offense, and today I wish to express my regrets. She gently touched Gu Hengsheng's hand, which surprised him a bit. He slowly stepped forward to observe. At that moment, Li Qiu-ro was attentively looking at him, and Gu Hengsheng stood up straight to look at her. He became shy and turned red, diverting his gaze elsewhere, unable to look directly at his fiancée. At that moment, a loud voice announced, Princess Yong'an has arrived. Princess Yong'an, with a calm expression, walked forward. Everyone in front knelt down respectfully, greetings, Princess Yong'an. Prince He-sei, looking somewhat embarrassed, asked, Sister, why have you come? Yong'an, her face filled with concern, slowly replied, You still came out. Guillermo was stunned, his eyes wide as he saw Yong'an. Memories from the past flooded back, of Yong'an as a young girl, innocent and full of light in her eyes. She stood at the city gate, bidding farewell to Guillermo as he went into battle. Bloody General, may you have a safe journey. Guillermo smiled in response, saying, Princess, wait for me to return. When he rode away, this memory also came to an end. Yong'an spoke slowly with a hint of sorrow, After that battle, you refused to meet me again. Her eyes were filled with sadness as she recalled the past. It has been 5 years. Now can you give me a clear answer? Guillermo remained silent, his expression calm, but his trembling hands gripping his clothes betrayed him. All these details were observed by Gu Hengsheng, who reminisced about the past and thought sadly, 5 years ago, at the war-torn border, second uncle led the Shui-Chi army into battle against the enemy. His leg was crippled during that time, and from then on, second uncle completely changed into a different person, locking himself in his room all day. Later, second uncle had lost all will to live and sent a letter to Princess Yong'an. The letter stated, Princess, please forgive this general for breaking his promise, from now on in this world, there will be no bloody general. Upon reading the letter, Yong'an was heartbroken and wept uncontrollably. Returning to the present, Guillermo bowed his head, his expression heavy and silent. At that moment, Yong'an's eyes were brimming with tears, but she still tried to hold them back, causing her cheeks to flush. Guillermo finally spoke up, breaking the awkward silence. Hengsheng, I'm tired, take me back. She was startled and opened her eyes wide in disbelief. Gu Hengsheng pushed the wheelchair and replied, Yes, second uncle. The two passed by Yong'an, and unexpectedly she called out loudly, Guillermo. Yong'an turned around, tears streaming down her face in excitement, and asked, I ask you one last time, what are we to each other? Yong'an watched Guillermo's back and wanted to hear his answer, but only silence followed. Finally, Guillermo spoke, saying, Princess, I told you years ago, there is no bloody general in this world anymore. Yong'an's heart ached as tears fell, and she choked out, All right. She slowly declared, In 5 months, I will go to the Nanyuan kingdom to marry their prince and unite our two countries. After saying that, she also left. The discussions around them erupted. Nanyuan kingdom. The royal family is of high status, even if he is the supreme ruler, there's nothing he can do now. If he offends the Nanyuan kingdom, he will create a strong enemy for our Tianfeng kingdom. Another person sighed, the princess is acting for the greater good. Guillermo heard all these words, his expression stiff and bewildered. Gu Tsang stood beside and could only watch his son with a heavy heart and a sigh. Outside, the moon had risen high. Gu Tsang spoke, Today is the betrothal ceremony, thank you all for coming to congratulate. The night was quiet at the Gu family. Guillermo sat still. Gu Hengsheng, seeing him dejected, asked, Second uncle, are you really going to allow Princess Yong'an to marry into the Nanyuan kingdom like this? He replied blandly, Now I am just a useless person, not worthy of the princess, what can I compete for? Calmly, he said, Second uncle, starting tomorrow, every morning at 5 watch intervals, use profound qi to circulate the meridians of your legs for half an hour. Hearing Gu Hengsheng say this, he immediately reacted. Guillermo turned around to look at him and asked in confusion, Little guy, what do you mean? Gu Hengsheng just smiled meaningfully and replied, I can help second uncle get back on his feet. Hearing what Gu Hengsheng had just said, Gu Yumo was stunned and asked, You, what did you say? Get back on his feet? How do you plan to do that? He did not rush to reveal everything, only reassuring Gu Yumo first, second uncle, don't worry, wait for the right opportunity, Hengsheng will explain. The later it got, the brighter the moonlight shone. It's already so late, Gu Hengsheng said his farewell. You should rest, I will take my leave. As he walked away, Gu Hengsheng pondered silently, the Nan Yuan kingdom, I hope you have some restraint, or else. His gaze turned increasingly determined and profound. This dynasty may no longer need to exist. Gu Hengsheng, dressed in white, stood against the cold wind of the night, just like his heart at that moment. The next day, gentle sunlight blanketed the ground. At this time, the Gu mansion was having a meal together. Li Qiu-ro held a bowl of rice in her hand, her indifferent gaze scanning the rich dishes on the table. Gu Tsang, filled with affection, said to her, Qiu-ro, eat more of whatever you like, if there's nothing to your taste, I'll immediately have the kitchen prepare something for you. Li Qiu-ro's natural presence here left Gu Hengsheng puzzled. He turned to ask Gu Yumo quietly, second uncle, what's going on? Why is Lady Li here? Gu Yumo explained to his nephew, have you forgotten? According to the customs of our Tianfeng kingdom, after a marriage alliance is established, the girl typically stays at the boy's house for a while to foster their relationship. Although Lady Li's family cannot speak, their refined demeanor is outstanding. Little guy, you will have good fortune in the future. Upon hearing this, Gu Hengsheng was slightly startled, and his face naturally turned red. Gu Tsang also lent a hand to help his stiff nephew. While Gu Hengsheng was in a daze, he pulled him back and smiled at Li Qiu-ro, saying, Qiu-ro, let Hengsheng take you out for a walk today. He then took his hand and placed it on Li Qiu-ro's hand, saying, if you see something you like, just let this little guy buy it for you. If this little guy doesn't do well, feel free to tell me, and I'll teach him for you. With their hands touching, Li Qiu-ro blushed shyly, while Gu Hengsheng appeared awkward on the other side. Gu Tsang looked at his nephew and silently commented, before, this little guy would go dumbstruck seeing beautiful young ladies, and now he's just stunned by the capital's #1 beauty. After that, he didn't have time to think much and quickly urged, hurry up, go quickly, the weather is nice today, and it's lively outside. You two have fun, you don't need to come back for dinner. Gu Hengsheng and Li Qiu-ro left the Gu family together. The street was lively and bustling, and while they were strolling together, Gu Hengsheng didn't say a word to Li Qiu-ro. She just obediently walked beside him, not displaying any unusual behavior, her cheeks flushed with shyness. Li Qiu-ro glanced at Gu Hengsheng beside her, but at that moment his gaze unintentionally met something else. Seeing a pharmacy in front of him, Gu Hengsheng remembered, that's right, to cure second uncle's legs, I need to break through to the spirit profound realm. The situation with the Princess Yong'an's marriage alliance is urgent, buying some elixirs can enhance breakthrough efficiency. After thinking this, he turned to Li Qiu-ro and said, Li lady, I want to go in and buy something, you wait here for a moment. Li Qiu-ro nodded in agreement. Soon after, Gu Hengsheng came out with a bag of rich medicinal herbs in hand. He silently counted in his mind, spiritual herb, vein rock grass, Tongzhen wood, these medicinal materials are indeed expensive. At that moment, a voice caught Gu Hengsheng's attention, hey, look over there, that's the young lady from the Li family. Li Qiu-ro was browsing through paintings at a stall on the street. However, a few people behind her were discussing without any regard. Is that her? She looks beautiful, too bad she's crippled. A mute like her with a playboy like Gu Hengsheng really is a perfect match. If she's said to be the most talented woman in the capital, a mute who locks herself at home every day can only read books more. Hearing these comments, Li Qiu-ro's mood was truly not good at all. She couldn't refute them, and her pitiful and wronged expression was evident. Gu Hengsheng approached the two people and immediately defended Li Qiu-ro. So what if she's mute? Li Qiu-ro has outstanding abilities and has been praised by the current emperor. Who are you to discuss her? The people earlier who had mocked her because she couldn't speak immediately ran away upon seeing Gu Hengsheng appear. His actions once again made Li Qiu blush. That night at the Gu family, Gu Hengsheng sat quietly in meditation. Everything was going smoothly until he suddenly spat blood. Gu Hengsheng wiped the blood from his mouth and internally told himself, "My Tao heart is as solid as stone and cannot be shaken. No matter if the road ahead is filled with peril, it cannot make me retreat." He observed the fresh blood in his palms and asked himself, "But why is this threshold of the spirit profound realm being obstructed?" Suddenly, Gu Hengsheng's mind flashed with images of fierce battles, blood spilling like a thick red silk. He suddenly opened his eyes wide, finally realizing, that's right, this body still lacks the cleansing of blood. After all, having a Tao heart and a soul ascending to the peak cannot make up for the innate shortcomings of the body. Gu Hengsheng clenched his fists, his eyes filled with determination. It's time to take action. Hearing his nephew's words, Gu Tsang unexpectedly exclaimed, "What?" He questioned him, "You want to go to the frontier, don't you care about your life anymore?" Gu Hengsheng calmly lowered his head, clasping his hands in front of him as he knelt and said, "Of course I know where the frontier is, which is why I must go." In fact, Gu Hengsheng had a plan in his mind, only there can I come into contact with the cleansing of blood and step into the spirit profound realm. Gu Tsang was worried and pointed his finger at him, scolding, "I warn you, don't even think about it, the wedding day is approaching. What should I do now that I'm going to Chiu Ro?" Gu Hengsheng was still kneeling there, and he firmly said, "I don't want to spend my whole life just as a young master living under the protection of others. I want to see the winds and rains at the border, to train my character, so that I can inherit the Gu family better in the future. As for Chiu Ro, I will personally go to ask for forgiveness later and seek Lady Li's understanding." Gu Tsang was so angry he could hardly speak. You. Yi Bo, standing beside him, hurriedly intervened, "Master, please calm down. Honestly, letting the young master go out to see the world is a good thing. After all, arranging a comfortable position for the young master in the army will pose no danger." Although Gu Tsang showed some displeasure, he found Yi Bo's words reasonable. After thinking for a while, he changed his mind. He threw the general's order to Gu Hengsheng, "Little guy, catch this." He blankly raised both hands to receive it. "Is this the general's order of the Gu family?" Gu Tsang continued, "Later, I will personally write an official letter appointing you. You can keep this general's order, when necessary, you can use it to command the troops, understand?" Initially, Gu Hengsheng was a bit surprised, but he soon expressed his gratitude happily. Hengsheng understood, "Thank you for your support." At that time, Li Qiu Ro was in the flower garden, deeply focused on calligraphy, a scene of exquisite beauty. Gu Hengsheng approached from outside and called out, "Li lady." Hearing someone calling, she turned her head to look. Without beating around the bush, he got straight to the point, "I have to go to the border, why don't you return to the Li family first and then plan further, what do you think?" Li Qiu Ro did not have a strong reaction to these words. She turned her head and wrote the character, and, on the paper. Gu Hengsheng was a bit surprised by his fiancée's response. She did not dislike the marriage but instead wished for his safe journey and hoped he would return soon. The two looked at each other in silence, their eyes filled with images of one another, their hearts connected. Gu Hengsheng made a promise to say, "Wait for me to return." At this moment, in the military camp, General Ren Qifeng was waiting for news. A subordinate rushed in from outside, reporting, "General, there is a little guy from outside claiming to have come from the capital and brought an order of appointment." Ren Qifeng clicked his tongue in displeasure, "Another young master here to while away the time, do those big shots in the capital have too much free time? Just bring useless person here, not even looking at what the front line is like now, tell him to get lost." Gu Hengsheng bowed slightly as he entered the door. Ren Qifeng looked at him and asked, "Are you Gu Yun from the capital?" He responded with a, "Yes," thinking, Gu Hengsheng, this playboy title has spread throughout the Tian Feng kingdom, luckily I told him to change the name on the official document before leaving, otherwise it would definitely be exposed. Ren Qifeng frowned at him. This name has no trace of profound qi on him, clearly a useless person who doesn't know how to cultivate, staying here will only hold us back, he must be kicked out quickly. Ren Qifeng pretended to accept, "Alright, just in time. Chi Feng camp is short a captain, let you go. The subordinate beside him hurriedly voiced when he heard, General, wasn't there just a... But before the subordinate could finish, Ren Chi Feng cut him off and shouted, what are you talking about, just relying on this young master who still smells like milk, do you think he can last a few days? Gu Hengsheng heard these words and also subtly recognized the implied meaning in the statement. In Ren Chi Feng's words, there seems to be something meant for me. Ren Chi Feng ordered the subordinate, take Gu captain to Chi Feng camp. The subordinate respectfully replied, yes, General. As they left, Ren Chi Feng watched them go with a hint of smugness. Ha, those brothers at Chi Feng camp are notoriously difficult to deal with. I want this little guy to know when to back off, he should get lost soon. Inside the camp, there were soldiers with bare chests and strong muscles, but both had to stop when a man was kicked out of a tent, injured and spitting blood. The man inside disdainfully said, even carrying my pants isn't worthy of you. Seeing the brutal scene unfold before him, Gu Hengsheng turned to the subordinate standing beside him and asked, who was talking inside? The subordinate hesitated a bit before answering, to be honest, Gu captain, the person inside is Lu Lingwu, the biggest boss in our barracks. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Lingwu shouted from inside, causing the soldier to jump. Who the hell is yammering outside? Get in here now. Before entering, he quietly reminded Gu Hengsheng, I'll warn you in advance, every captain who has come to take office has been beaten and chased out by that guy. He looked at everyone with disdain. After hearing this, he felt a bit amused, his eyes filled with confidence. Is that so? Well then, let me see. Seeing Gu Hengsheng walk in without a hint of humility, the subordinate intended to raise his hand to stop him. Realizing he couldn't block Gu Hengsheng's steps, he could only sigh and lament inwardly, I've said all that needs to be said. Looking at that little guy's fair complexion, he probably won't last even until tonight. As soon as he stepped in, before him was a large man seated confidently in a chair, flanked by guards standing watch around him. The man's eyes narrowed and his brows furrowed, giving him a fierce appearance. Where did this little brat come from? What do you want at our Chi Feng camp? He was the one who had been shouting earlier, named Lu Lingwu. Gu Hengsheng faced him without any hesitation or fear. He calmly held his head high and then introduced himself with a fake name, starting today, I am captain of Chi Feng camp, Gu Yun. Lu Lingwu frowned upon hearing this, while the soldiers beside him were murmuring excitedly, what is this? Letting a kid take command of our Chi Feng camp. Isn't this just nonsense? If the other military brothers find out about this, won't our Chi Feng camp become a laughingstock? Then one of them spoke up, sending off one scarecrow and a kid shows up, boss, we can't tolerate this. Upon hearing this, the guy nodded in agreement. Lu Lingwu sat up and looked at him, saying, you want to become the captain of our Chi Feng camp? Fine. As he stood up, his massive frame dwarfed Gu Hengsheng multiple times. Then, Lu Lingwu looked down and continued, the premise is to defeat me, dare you? Gu Hengsheng looked at him with absolute confidence and replied, all right, as you wish. Lu Lingwu felt anger rise at Gu Hengsheng's confidence. Without hesitation, he took a run up and threw a punch at his opponent, my punch isn't for show. Lu Lingwu's punch was filled with rage and strength, but Gu Hengsheng effortlessly dodged to the side without expending any effort. The veins on Lu Lingwu's forehead bulged as he turned to glare at Gu Hengsheng with a murderous look, as if he wanted to devour him whole. Lu Lingwu attacked once more, but he deftly dodged the blow. He then added, you're too slow. The man staggered on the ground, looking at him with an expression of disbelief. A hint of surprise appeared on Lu Lingwu's angry face. Gu Hengsheng focused his gaze, then skillfully swung his leg to prepare for an attack. Taking advantage of Lu Lingwu's momentary distraction, he quickly delivered a kick to the man's stomach. Lu Lingwu fell to his knees on the ground, clutching his abdomen and trembling. A subordinate's eyes nearly popped out upon witnessing this scene, and he exclaimed, boss, he was knocked down to the ground by a kick from this kid. The man, feeling dizzy and in pain, thought, what's going on here? I'm in the late human profound realm, how could I be defeated by a little guy who doesn't have any profound chi in his body? Lu Lingwu looked up, unable to accept it, and shouted, "Hey, you have to fight me again, I won't accept this." Gu Hengsheng looked at the man, who was unwilling to concede, and replied, "If you accept the bet, you have to accept defeat. I don't have time to waste on you." After that, he turned and left, ignoring the farewells from the soldiers and Lu Lingwu's frustration. Gu Captain walked slowly. The guy watched Gu Hengsheng's figure leave, feeling angry but not daring to say another word. At the same time, shouts of cursing arose from the barracks. "Damn it, this isn't over." Ren Qifeng held a teacup in his hand and looked at the person opposite him, asking again, "What? Are you saying that Gu Yun defeated Lu Lingwu?" The subordinate hurriedly confirmed and then recounted what had just happened. "That's right, that Gu Captain knocked Lu out with just one kick, and the soldiers of Qifeng camp can all testify to this." After hearing this, Ren Qifeng thought to himself, "It shouldn't be, Lu Lingwu may not be bright, but he still has late-stage human profound realm cultivation." Then he asked the subordinate in front of him, "Do you know what Gu Captain's cultivation level is?" The subordinate quickly replied, causing Ren Qifeng to stroke his beard in contemplation, "It's hard to tell. The brothers of Qifeng camp said that Gu Captain didn't display any cultivation aura at all, he seemed like an ordinary person." Upon hearing this, he held the teacup in his hand, smirking to himself, "This Gu Yun is interesting." Although Gu Hengsheng's strength had forced the soldiers to submit, Lu Lingwu still refused to back down. He led a group of fierce-looking soldiers, filled with barely contained anger. At that moment, someone spoke up, advising, "Big brother, maybe it's best to let it go. If you lose to Gu Captain this time, it will be very embarrassing." Lu Lingwu still wouldn't hold back, expressing his dissatisfaction in anger, "Damn it, yesterday he just got lucky. Today, I need to make him fight properly." Just then, another soldier spoke up, "Ren General has arrived." Lu Lingwu took notice and glanced over. Ren Qifeng, clad in an impressive military uniform, approached. Despite Lu Lingwu's fierce and unruly demeanor, he still bowed before him, "Greetings, Ren General." Ren Qifeng seemed uninterested and immediately asked, "Where's Gu Yun? Tell him to come out quickly." Hearing his name called, Gu Hengsheng stepped forward. He was now wearing his military uniform and asked sternly, "Is there something urgent, Ren General?" Noticing Gu Hengsheng's demeanor, Ren Qifeng took a little more interest, thinking to himself, "He looks quite familiar in that armor, very much like someone I know." Ren Qifeng didn't dwell on it further and got straight to the point. "Now you go to the general's camp for a briefing." At the same time in the general's camp, countless people had gathered here. Gu Hengsheng walked in and thought, "This is the place where my second uncle was stationed years ago." As soon as he saw the powerful figure before him, several people beside Gu Hengsheng immediately bowed and greeted, "Greetings, Grand General." The people in the camp also stepped forward. This imposing man is named Feng Aojin, the commander-in-chief of Yen Shing Pass. Upon his arrival, he loudly called out, "Esteemed generals, according to the military report, the Beiyu Kingdom has assembled nearly 30,000 troops, intending to attack Yen Shing Pass." Immediately, discontented voices arose, "The audacity of the Beiyu Kingdom is indeed great. Over the past few years, they have repeatedly invaded our Tianfeng Kingdom. Do they really think our Tianfeng Kingdom is easy to bully? I remember back when Bloody General was here, not to mention the Beiyu Kingdom disturbing our Tianfeng Kingdom, they didn't even dare come close to the border. If it weren't for 5 years ago." When it came to mentioning Gu Yumo, Gu Hengsheng silently thought, "That's right, it was the Beiyu troops 5 years ago that crippled my second uncle's legs. In that campaign, the Beiyu Kingdom deployed the strong Earth Profound Realm. At the very last moment, it struck the legs of the second uncle. But the battle had reached its most critical juncture. The second uncle did not care for his injuries and fought until the last minute. Because he neglected the best treatment time, the second uncle was left crippled from then on, leading a gloomy, reclusive life without venturing into the world anymore." Feng Aojin called out loudly from above, "Those years are in the past. Are you all willing to follow this general to defend the Yen Shing Pass and protect the emblem of the Tianfeng Kingdom?" Everyone knelt down in unison and pledged, "We swear to follow the general to the death." Feng Aojin shouted, "All right, immediately returned to prepare for the great battle. At this moment, back in Gu Hengxing's camp, he sat solemnly in a chair. The soldiers lined up 2 rows waiting for orders. Looking at the people in front of him, Gu Hengxing rested his chin on his hand and asked, "Why is everyone silent? Are you afraid?" One of the soldiers responded boldly, "How could that be? As soldiers of the Chi Feng camp, we can die on the battlefield, our armor wrapped around our bodies, but we absolutely cannot fear the enemy. I only hate that I cannot immediately go to the battlefield and behead the dogs of the enemy Beiyu kingdom." At this moment, Lu Lingwu placed his hand on his chest before him and affirmed, "Gu Captain, rest assured, if anyone is in danger on the battlefield, Lu Lingwu will certainly not stand by and watch. After all, you are the captain of our Chi Feng camp. If the other troops find out that we couldn't even protect our own captain, it would be too shameful." The people behind Lu Lingwu also enthusiastically echoed, "That's right, we can spar with Gu Captain in private, but we can't let those kids from Beiyu Kingdom bully us." Gu Hengxing closed his eyes slightly and replied indifferently, "All right, I appreciate your concern." Then, his voice rang out in the camp, "Issue an order to the entire Chi Feng camp to be on high alert, tomorrow morning we will engage the enemy." The energetic response came back, "Yes." The next day, the battle took place. Feng Ao Jin commanded from the city, "Soldiers, listen to the order, beat the drums." As soon as he finished speaking, they immediately acted, the sound of the drums echoed loudly and then became urgent. Gu Hengxing observed for a moment and thought. Some people say that in times of war and chaos, blood will flow like rivers and corpses will pile like mountains. But if there really is a peaceful place in this world, how many people would be willing to risk their lives for killing? He looked down at the soldiers below and continued to think. They are not afraid of life or death, they are only afraid that the emblem of the Tian Feng kingdom will be harmed. They are not afraid of war, they are only afraid that the common people in the rear will be hurt. At that moment, a soldier ran over to report to Feng Ao Jin, reporting, "General, the 30,000 troops of Beiyu Kingdom are only 10 miles away from Yen Shing Pass." Feng Ao Jin immediately ordered, "Relay the command, send General Su Quan to lead 10,000 troops out of the city to meet the enemy." Gu Hengxing carefully observed the situation and strategized. "Our forces are too vastly outnumbered by Beiyu's army, we must send some troops out to wear down their strength first to be able to hold the city." When the battle broke out, dust and smoke were kicked up everywhere by galloping horses, and the scene became shrouded. General Su Quan led the soldiers forward on horseback. Wherever the army went, loud shouts of "kill" echoed. Soon after, the two sides charged into battle, marking the start of a bloody conflict. Su Quan was sitting on his horse when he quickly noticed an enemy soldier approaching with a sword. As a result, the soldier lost his head in one swift strike from Su Quan. However, before he could gather himself, a group of enemies rushed toward him. This unexpected action caught Su Quan off guard, and his horse was attacked by an enemy with a spear. The injured horse let out a painful neigh, and moments later, it could no longer hold on, resulting in both horse and rider tumbling to the ground. Su Quan was thrown off and struggled to sit up. In his mind, he thought, "It's surely the end for me." But just as the fierce enemy soldiers on horseback reached him, a sudden blow took the heads of 3 enemies who intended to kill Su Quan. He saw the heads roll on the ground with his own eyes. Upon clearly seeing the one who saved him, Su Quan joyfully exclaimed, "Gu Captain." From the cloud of dust, Gu Hengxing emerged. Dressed in white, he rode through the encirclement just in time to save Su Quan. The enemies, witnessing Gu Hengxing's strength, immediately changed direction and shouted, "Brothers, kill this kid first." Very quickly, Gu Hengxing found himself surrounded by enemies on all sides. He did not panic, his cold eyes observing the foes before him. Gu Hengxing immediately reacted, strongly pushing off from the ground. In a flash, he disappeared. The enemies swung their weapons to attack, only to strike the innocent horse. A subordinate, witnessing this extraordinary scene, could not help but feel confused, stammering, Where did he go?" In the next moment, Gu Hengxing suddenly jumped out from who knows where, piercing the head of the subordinate with his sword. He calmly stood up and withdrew the blade. Then Gu Hengsheng stood up and swung his sword. The cold blue sword intent directly killed both the enemies and the horses around him. He swiftly mounted a horse, a confident smile on his lips. He thought to himself, sure enough, only by experiencing the cleansing of fresh blood can one better refine the Tao heart. As Gu Hengsheng galloped on horseback, he wielded his sword to slash at the enemies, the scene both imposing and vigorous. While riding, he shouted loudly, starting today, let the Gu family's general once again ignite the flames to the 9 heavens. From atop the city wall, Lu Lingwu observed that it was Gu Hengsheng who was breaking through the enemies below. Such formidable strength caused him to widen his eyes in astonishment, stammering, Captain. Captain, that's our Gu captain from Chi Feng camp. Feng Ao Jin had never heard of this name and asked in surprise, which Gu captain? Why have I never heard of this person? Ren Chi Feng, seeing Gu Hengsheng's strength, couldn't help but feel confused, but he explained stammeringly, his name is Gu Yun, but when he first arrived I couldn't see any cultivation level. Now looking back, he has reached the peak of the human profound realm. Judging from Gu Hengsheng's performance, Feng Ao Jin couldn't help but feel confident and praised Gu Hengsheng, saying, Gu Yun little guy is good. Then he immediately turned to order Ren Chi Feng and Lu Lingwu, Ren Deputy Commander, Lu Deputy Officer, you two lead the brothers of Chi Feng camp to quickly support Gu Captain. The two immediately received the order and bowed, responding, yes. Lu Lingwu mounted his warhorse and led the 500 brothers, excitedly shouting, brothers, follow Gu Captain and kill. After that, one could see in the distance, at the battlefield, continuous tremors occurring, with chaotic dust rising. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the Gu family. After hearing the news at the border, Gu Tsang was so shocked that he dropped the teacup in his hand. The teacup fell to the floor, shattering into pieces. Unable to contain his excitement, he stood up and exclaimed loudly, what? 30,000 troops of the Beiyu kingdom have broken through the Yen Shing pass of the northern border. Yi Bo bent down and replied, yes, according to the news, all the forces at Yen Shing pass are mobilizing, and the little young master is very likely among them. Upon hearing this, Gu Tsang became even more agitated. He quickly ordered, hurry, old man, immediately send someone to Yen Shing pass to bring Hengsheng back safely. With a worried and panicked demeanor, he added, furthermore, immediately send a message via carrier pigeon, urgently dispatch the troops stationed near Yen Shing pass to provide support, we must definitely eliminate the Beiyu invaders. Yi Bo clasped his hands in front and solemnly accepted the order, saying, yes. Gu Hengsheng remained composed as usual, riding through the enemy troops, slashing as he went. Moving as fast as the wind, his sword was soon covered in enemy blood. Just as Gu Hengsheng was in the heat of battle, he suddenly broke through to a new realm, advancing to the early stage of the spirit profound realm. A mysterious light emanated from his body, exuding an impressive aura, and Gu Hengsheng felt even more confident. He secretly rejoiced in his heart. Success has come, the barrier of the spirit profound realm has shattered. It was at this moment that a sharp arrow shot towards them, moving so fast that it could not be seen. Lu Lingwu could not catch a glimpse of its shape and had to squint, exclaiming, what is that? So fast. The arrow flew straight towards Gu Hengsheng. At that instant, Lu Lingwu managed to shout a warning, Captain, be careful. His gaze quickly followed the direction of the arrow. To avoid injury, Gu Hengsheng immediately urged his horse to evade. He successfully dodged, and the arrow shot straight behind him. When it struck the ground, a massive explosion occurred immediately. With such power, if hit by this blow, survival would be uncertain. Suddenly, a triumphant voice rang out, very good. It turned out that the arrow came from the commander-in-chief of Beiyu. Seeing Gu Hengsheng successfully dodge the arrow, he remarked on his image, the young man who can dodge an arrow from this general, you are the first. Speak quickly, who are you? Gu Hengsheng replied loudly from across, I am Gu family, Gu Hengsheng, Tian Feng Kingdom. The face of the commander-in-chief from Beiyu could not hide his surprise and confusion. He immediately opened his mouth to reply, you are a member of the Gu family, Tian Feng Kingdom. Gu Hengsheng then proudly declared his impressive lineage, I, Gu Hengsheng, am the grandson of Gu Tsang, the national marshal of Tianfeng Kingdom, the son of Gu Qingjun, the Qingmeng general, and the grandson of Gu Yuemo, the bloody general. Upon hearing this, all the enemy soldiers began to murmur, he is a member of the Gu family, Tianfeng Kingdom. It is rumored that the Gu family are all brave heroes, winning battles wherever they go. This display of Gu Hengsheng's identity not only confused the enemy troops but also shocked our own soldiers. At this moment, Lu Lingwu slowly realized. He and Ren Qifeng were taken aback. Gu Yun is actually Gu Hengsheng. Feng Aojin on the city wall was also aware of the current situation. He couldn't suppress his astonishment. The Gu family, it is the Gu family. After so many years, a member of the Gu family is once again standing on the battlefield. However, the commander-in-chief had already heard of Gu Hengsheng's reputation. He exclaimed, "Impossible, everyone knows this Gu Hengsheng of the Gu family is a useless person. How can you be him?" Gu Hengsheng said little, sitting on his horse, an aura of great power radiating from him. "Whether it is or not, you'll know if you try." In no time, he was no longer in the same spot. One person and one horse quickly vanished. Gu Hengsheng attacked first, charging swiftly towards the enemy with his war horse. Seeing the scene before him, Commander-in-Chief Bei Yu could not hide his shock, but in his mind, he denied it. The army is in a standoff. If I easily retreat based on the words of this guy, how can I establish my authority in the army in the future? Thinking this, he immediately jumped down from his horse. His body landed with force, and he bellowed to assert his dominance. "Fine, then I will take your head to offer to the troops of Bei Yu." One of his strikes caused the ground to tremble, with cracks forming directly towards Gu Hengsheng. Despite this, he remained determined to ride forward, refusing to back down. Observing the unfolding scene, Ren Qifeng and Lu Lingwu were left speechless in shock. Lu Lingwu exclaimed, "Is this the power of the strong earth profound realm?" Gu Hengsheng, without any regard, immediately launched his attack. Tan Nine Lives Sword, the first generation. Suddenly a blinding light appeared. Less than 3 seconds later, a massive explosion occurred at the scene, causing earth, rocks, and dust to fly in all directions. Somewhat of the enemy troops were instantly blown away, both horse and rider, with only Commander-in-Chief Bei Yu being able to withstand a bit of it. He raised his hand to shield himself in front, helpless, ultimately unable to resist. The Commander-in-Chief squinted and glanced towards Gu Hengsheng. He could only clench his teeth, unable to speak for a moment. The thick dust gradually cleared, revealing Gu Hengsheng and his warhorse from within. He scoffed, "Strong earth profound realm. Turns out it's just that." He pointed his sword at the enemy, boldly declaring, "From today onwards, anyone who dares to provoke the Tianfeng Kingdom will be killed without mercy." Seeing this scene, the enemy could not help but feel panic. The crowd scattered like ants, abandoning both horses and riders. Shouts of chaos erupted, "We definitely can't win, too strong, retreat quickly." Commander-in-Chief Bei Yu initially stubbornly maintained his image but ultimately had to retreat. Before leaving, he said, "Gu Hengsheng, I will remember you. In the future, I will definitely behead you to sacrifice for the souls of the fallen warriors of the Bei Yu Kingdom." Gu Hengsheng remained unshaken and replied loudly, "This young master will wait. The grudge from that year with the bloody general will be repaid with blood by the Bei Yu Kingdom." His tone was resolute and imposing as he reiterated, "I am Gu Hengsheng of the Gu family from the Tianfeng Kingdom." After a fierce battle, in the military camp, the soldiers were resting, and the injured from the fight had been treated. Gu Hengsheng was walking around inspecting. He was focused on a certain direction when a disturbance ahead caught his attention. Many soldiers were kneeling and paying their respects to Gu Hengsheng. Feng Aojin led them, loudly proclaiming, "Xueqi army, Feng Aojin pays respects to the young master." Gu Hengsheng looked at Feng Aojin and thought, the Xueqi army was established by the founding Grand General Gu Tsang. In the past, the Xueqi army suppressed many major nations around, its name soared high in the sky. He stepped forward to support Feng Aojin's hand and spoke. "The generals do not need to act like that. Since our father fell in battle and the second uncle fell ill, the old troops have long been divided among the various military camps, so what is left of the Shui army? Upon hearing Gu Hengsheng say this, he patted his chest and declared, young master is wrong. As long as the Gu family exists and the general's orders are given, the Shui army will assemble immediately, ready for orders. He smiled with satisfaction, thinking, this is the Shui army that you have spent over 10 years building, united in mind and spirit, able to withstand the scrutiny of heaven and earth. Feng Ao Jin clenched his fist and said loudly, young master, you fight against 10,000 troops, your bravery is unparalleled, but in the capital, people spread rumors that young master indulges in a debauched and useless life. They are mad with gossip, which is truly frustrating. Seeing his imposing aura, Gu Hengsheng broke out in a cold sweat. Feng Ao Jin firmly shouted, the prestige of the Gu family must remain eternal through generations, it cannot be tarnished. I will report to the military and send word back to the capital, officially recognizing the young master. At that moment, inside the royal palace, a subordinate was reporting to Mo Xiaoyang, report, urgent military news from the northern border Yen Shing Pass. He looked serious and ordered, read it. The subordinate, with a joyful expression, declared loudly, I report to the military master, the Yen Shing Pass has achieved a great victory. General Feng Ao Jin dispatched 10,000 elite soldiers from the city to repel the enemy, using 5,000 troops to kill more than 10,000 soldiers of the Beiyu kingdom, successfully forcing the enemy to retreat. Mo Xiaoyang was overjoyed and said, good. All the great deities were excitedly discussing the good news, saying, exactly. Suddenly, the subordinate who was reading had a look of surprise on his face. He excitedly continued to report, when the army returned to the city, a captain emerged from within and charged into the Beiyu army, killing more than 10 people while shouting, those who offend the Tianfeng kingdom, behead them. However, the commander-in-chief of Beiyu attempted to assassinate this captain. This captain, relying on his early-stage spirit profound realm cultivation, managed to evade and remained uninjured. Mo Xiaoyang joyfully exclaimed, as expected of the soldiers of our Tianfeng kingdom, that's how a man should be. The subordinate was reading the part where the commander-in-chief of Beiyu asked, who, when suddenly he was shocked by the content. He was stunned for a long time and finally, with an incredulous expression, read aloud, the captain replied, I am from the Gu family of the Tianfeng kingdom, Gu Hengsheng. Gu Tsang, standing nearby, excitedly asked, what did you just say? Who is that captain? Mo Xiaoyang also lost his composure and stood up. He raised his hand towards the subordinate and said, present it here, I want to see it myself. The subordinate stepped forward and Mo Xiaoyang took it. He opened it and, feeling tense, looked closely. Inside it read, Commander-in-Chief Beiyu inquires about who, Gu family Gu Hengsheng. Mo Xiaoyang joyfully confirmed, it really is him. He hurriedly called out, Gu old man general, you should take a look too. Gu Tsang, trembling, took it and immediately burst into joy, tears streaming down his face as he laughed and said, no doubt he is of the Gu family, wonderful, truly wonderful. Everyone in the grand hall could not help but discuss, I heard that the little young master of the Gu family cannot channel energy into his body to cultivate, is he in the early stage of the spirit profound realm? This cultivation is a step apart from the three great geniuses in the classics, how could it be? The early stage of the spirit profound realm cannot be achieved in a day or night, could it be that the little young master of the Gu family was pretending before? Mo Xiaoyang raised his hand and said, everyone, be silent. With a spirited demeanor, he declared, this is all for today, after the battle at Yen Shing Pass concludes, rewards will be given to those who have made contributions. Everyone chanted in unison, we escort the emperor. Outside the palace, the sun shone brightly. Gu Tsang walked beside Li Tianyuan and started a conversation, Li old man, did you know about this early on? Li Tianyuan raised an eyebrow, smiling smugly, and replied, I know a little more than you do. Seeing the old man's provocative expression, Gu Tsang bared his teeth and warned with an irritated finger, all right, you bastard, I said, why did you suddenly change your mind and agree to let Qiu Rou marry Hengsheng? It turns out there's something good about this. Li Tianyuan calmly responded, Gu old man, why are you cursing at me? You've been living with Yen Shing for over 20 years and couldn't see it, so how can you blame me? Mentioning his grandson made Gutsang excited again, as he loudly declared, when that little guy returns, just wait and see, I'll skin him alive. Even I was kept in the dark, very clever. Li Tianyuan walked beside the adults in agreement. In the garden, Li Qiu-ro was focused on writing something down, when her maid rushed over and exclaimed, "Miss, something big has happened." Li Qiu-ro still didn't understand what was going on when her eyes lit up with joy as she recounted. It is the young master at Yen Shing Pass leading the Beiyu Kingdom army into battle, suppressing tens of thousands of enemies with his initial stage spirit profound realm cultivation, gaining fame throughout the world. Upon hearing this, she immediately frowned, and the brush she was holding fell from her hand. The image of Gu Hengsheng, clad in armor and fighting, appeared in Li Qiu-ro's mind. She clasped her hands to her chest, her cheeks flushed with happiness as she thought. Initial stage spirit profound realm, suppressing tens of thousands of enemies, gaining fame throughout the world. Li Qiu-ro shyly thought to herself, so this is the true brother. Meanwhile, Gu Hengsheng was gazing into the distance, deep in thought. I have finally entered the spirit profound realm. It seems I need to go back soon to treat second uncle's legs. Gu Hengsheng looked up and murmured to himself. In 4 months, Princess Yong'an will arrive at Nanyuan Kingdom. By then, if Nanyuan Kingdom has no restraint. A voice interrupted his thoughts, calling, "Captain." Upon hearing this, he turned to see Lu Lingwu approaching. Gu Hengsheng looked at him and asked, "What's the matter?" He rubbed his bald head and awkwardly replied, "Captain. Once, I mentioned wanting to challenge someone, and I asked not to take it to heart." He didn't react at all and calmly replied, "My tolerance is not so small." The guy glanced over, scratched his head, and said with a smile, "That's good." But in his mind, he thought, people say the little young master of the Gu family is useless and living a life of excess, it's all nonsense, and indeed, one cannot believe the rumors. Gu Hengsheng patted the guy's shoulder and asked, "How are our Chi-Feng camp brothers doing?" The guy lowered his head, his face gloomy as he replied, "Most of the injured brothers have been rescued, but there are still some with serious injuries." At this point, he showed a fierce expression filled with hatred and said, "Sooner or later, there will come a day." He raised his fist in front of him and shouted loudly, "I will kill the Beiyu army to avenge my fallen brothers." Gu Hengsheng couldn't help but sigh and thought, war is always brutal. At this moment, Yi Bo was riding his horse rapidly toward Gu Hengsheng, while 2 subordinates were trying to block him. Feng Ao Jin, looking down from the city gate, loudly asked, "Who dares to intrude on Yen Shing Pass?" Yi Bo tightened the reins and asked, "Where is our young master?" Feng Ao Jin frowned and stared, thinking. "The sound is so familiar," Yi Bo said, his eyes sparkling with recognition. He raised his eyebrows and looked at him. Feng Ao Jin was startled and quickly realized. He approached, knelt down, and performed a respectful bow. Xueqi Army Feng Ao Jin, pays respects to Yi Old Man General. Yi Bo, with an imposing demeanor, said, "I want to meet the young master." He gestured for the horse to move on. Feng Ao Jin mounted his horse and turned back, saying, "General is looking for the young master. He's resting in the Red Wind camp. I'll take you there." With that, they rode off together. The 2 subordinates watching from above remained silent. One asked his companion, "Who is that old man? Why is the general showing him such respect?" The other, irritated by the casual remark, said, "Watch your words and actions. That's the old man. Back in the day, he fought alongside Gu Tsang, Gu Grand General on the battlefield, and even Bloody General was under his command." The first man was shocked and broke into a sweat. He quickly clasped his hands and bowed, saying, I'm sorry." At the Red Wind camp, Gu Hengsheng was surprised to see Yi Bo and asked, "Yi Bo, why are you here?" The old man, moved to tears, clasped his hands and reported. "Master heard that the Yen Shing Pass erupted in a great battle and quickly told me to come and bring you home. Young master, you scared me to death." He smiled reassuringly at Yi Bo. "Am I not doing well? Let's go home." The old man looked at him and replied with joy. "All right, let's head home first, we'll talk about everything when we're back. Gu Hengsheng mounted his horse firmly, preparing to leave with Yi Bo. Suddenly, some soldiers appeared and shouted. "Captain!" Gu Hengsheng responded with joy. "You soldiers, we will meet again in the future, and I hope you won't target me then." Everyone laughed at what he said. Lu Lingwu stepped forward to clasp his hands and said. "It is an honor for us to have someone as unmatched as you, Captain, as the captain of our Qifeng camp. Captain, we believe that you will be like the bloody general of the past, standing at the pinnacle of the battlefield, making the countries dare not invade our Tianfeng kingdom." All the soldiers shouted in unison. "We salute you, Captain." Yi Bo, with a proud look in his eyes, thought to himself, the Gu family has an heir now. The little young master of the Gu family naturally carries the bearing of a great general like his father. The gentle morning sunlight shone down on Gu Mansion. Upon hearing the news, Gu Tsang and Gu Umo had already made their way to the main gate, nervously yet patiently waiting. When Gu Umo saw the situation ahead, he joyfully exclaimed, "Dad, look, it's Yi Bo." At that moment, Yi Bo drove the carriage to a stop right in front of the main gate. As Gu Hengsheng stepped down from the carriage, Gu Tsang ran over joyfully to greet his grandson, saying, "Haha, little guy, you're back. Come on, today I won't go home until I'm drunk with you." Saying that, he couldn't help but excitedly give Gu Hengsheng a heavy slap on the shoulder. He smiled and replied, "Grandpa, you're being too rough." Time was a bit tight, and Gu Hengsheng glanced at Gu Umo, not wanting to beat around the bush, and said to his grandfather, "But let's wait a bit to drink, second uncle and I have important matters to attend to." In his heart, he affirmed, "I have successfully entered the spirit profound realm, it's time for second uncle to rise again." Hearing Gu Hengsheng's serious words, Gu Umo felt a bit anxious. Then, Gu Hengsheng immediately began to treat his second uncle. A basin of water was placed at his feet. Seeing his grandson skillfully preparing the tools in front of him, he asked somewhat doubtfully, "Little guy, can you really cure my leg?" Gu Hengsheng calmly checked the medicinal ingredients. He did not rush to answer Gu Umo's question but directly asked, "Second uncle, have you been following my advice for the past month? Have you used profound qi to open up the meridians in your legs?" He moved closer to Gu Umo and continued, "In 4 months, Yong'an Princess will be sent to Nan Yuan Kingdom for a marriage alliance. Before that, I will definitely help you stand up." Gu Umo responded with an eager expression, "Okay, okay." Gu Hengsheng said nothing more, decisively pouring elixirs into the basin of water for his second uncle's foot soak. After that, numerous white fumes wafted out from the wooden basin. He reached in slowly to measure the temperature. Then Gu Hengsheng instructed Gu Umo, "For the next 10 days, your second uncle's leg must stay soaked in this medicine. Wait for the effects of the spiritual herb to take effect before we can continue the treatment." He observed Gu Umo's stiff legs, struggling a bit to explain, "But before that, second uncle broke the meridians for 5 years, the blood and flesh had necrosed, so it had to be shattered and regenerated." Hearing what Gu Hengsheng said, Gu Umo not only remained unmoved but responded resolutely, "It's shattered, but second uncle has been through many battles, what storms hasn't he seen?" The other party had made up his mind. Gu Hengsheng closed his eyes and said, "Second uncle, I have offended you." Gu Umo was prepared, he closed his eyes and straightforwardly said, "Come on." Gu Hengsheng began the treatment process, first targeting Gu Umo's right leg. Gu Hengsheng had just started on one leg and Gu Umo already felt the effects. He raised his head, his eyes wide with pain, his face drenched in sweat, and his teeth gritted tightly. Seeing second uncle in such pain, Gu Hengsheng felt a bit reluctant, but he decisively proceeded with the other leg. This time it might have hurt even more than before. Gu Umo, as before, tightly grasped the chair's edge, nearly collapsing and fainting, his body shaking in agony. After a series of actions, Gu Hengsheng instructed Gu Umo, "Second uncle, during these 10 days, you cannot leave here even a step, you must remember that." After going through a period of being tormented by physical pain, Gu Umo, though weak and slumped, still firmly replied, "Understood, I understand now." Immediately after, Gu Hengsheng also left, the door to the room closed gently, making a soft sound. As he stepped outside, Han Ruian suddenly jumped out from somewhere. smiling and greeting, "Brother Gu." His silly act irritated Gu Hengsheng. "Can't you walk quietly? Who are you trying to scare?" Han Ruian looked at Gu Hengsheng, unable to hide his suspicion. "Are you really my brother Gu? The one who defeated the Beiyu army, the unmatched genius? I remember you used to be even worse than me." Upon hearing the words of this younger brother, Gu Hengsheng directly turned his back and walked away, coldly saying, "Get lost, stop talking nonsense." Gu Hengsheng's unusual behavior left Han Ruian confused and dumbfounded. Then he quickly chased after Gu Hengsheng, mumbling, "Brother Gu, don't go. It was hard for you to come back. Why don't you come with me to Bai Meng Tower for a drink?" Gu Hengsheng seriously asked him, "Little Un, have you not thought about cultivation at all today?" However, at that moment, Han Ruian felt that he had just heard a meaningless statement and shook his head bluntly. He then said to Gu Hengsheng, "I am a man of ideals, how can I be bound by cultivation?" The expression of this younger brother made Gu Hengsheng feel troubled. "How to say, this little guy grew up with me, we have known each other for many years. I need to find a way to help him cultivate well in the future." That day, the sky was clear, and a crowd gathered densely around the announcement board. At that moment, someone read the information aloud: "Imperial Edict, Gu Hengsheng of the Gu family suppressed the enemy at Yen Shing Pass, bringing glory to our Tian Feng kingdom, and due to his unmatched military genius, Gu Hengsheng of the Gu family is appointed as a fourth-rank general, with the title Qi Shuang." Hearing the news, the crowd couldn't help but whisper, "Is the Gu family about to have an arrogant general on the battlefield?" Qi Shuang general. In the battle against Beiyu Kingdom, he truly pushed the Gu third young master to the top of the storm. Pretending to be crazy and foolish for so many years, this little young master of the Gu family truly has a frighteningly meticulous mindset, and one can't help but wonder what he is plotting. That night, Gu Tsang gathered a group of people and instructed them to surround the Gu family tonight, not allowing a single fly to enter. The guards immediately bowed and responded affirmatively. Gu Tsang then closed the door and turned to Gu Hengsheng, saying it could begin now. Gu Hengsheng glanced at Gu Umo and told him, "Second uncle, don't use profound chi later, let me handle everything." Gu Umo quickly understood and replied succinctly. Surrounding Gu Umo's feet were waves of medicinal power coming from below, gradually healing his wounds, which were then treated with Gu Hengsheng's true chi. At this moment, Gu Umo's legs were opened up to allow the medicinal power and true chi from Gu Hengsheng to work on the treatment. Beside them, Gu Hengsheng continuously chanted magic formulas to condense bones and souls, reinforcing blood and flesh, opening meridians and channels, and harnessing celestial magical powers. Gu Hengsheng's face took on a tense look as he broke into a light sweat, continuing to apply his techniques on blood and flesh, condensing the meridians and gathering energy. The airflow continuously surrounded Gu Umo's feet. Gradually, the treatment began. After a while, the purple legs returned to normal, and everything was settled. At this moment, Gu Umo stared in astonishment for a moment, looking down at his legs. It seemed they were regaining sensation. His legs started to feel hot, like they were on fire, trembling noticeably. Gu Umo was moved and took a deep breath. Gu Hengsheng said to him, "Second uncle, you can stand up now." Then Gu Umo tried hard to get up. He was able to leave the wheelchair, his legs wobbly as they supported him on the ground, his face filled with amazement. Everything was going smoothly, and Gu Tsang was so moved that he shed tears and exclaimed, "Good, good, good." Gu Hengsheng couldn't contain his joy, clasping his hands and saying, "Congratulations, second uncle, this time you can marry Princess Yong'an openly." However, Gu Umo looked desperate, his face darkening. "I heard that the Nan Yuan kingdom has postponed the marriage to tomorrow. Now I can only manage to take 2 steps, how can I compete with them?" "Hengsheng, you don't know the depths of the Nan Yuan kingdom, their royal capital is guarded by a strong earth-profound realm. No matter what, it can't be contested." Gu Hengsheng continually encouraged, "Second uncle, Princess Yong'an has waited for you for 5 years, you should give her a satisfactory answer. It will be good for both her and you, so the cultivation of second uncle must take another step forward." Gu Umo, somewhat confused, asked, "What do you mean?" Gu Hengsheng seriously replied, I intend to help second uncle break through to the mid-level of the Earth Profound Realm. Gu Mo looked directly at Gu Hengsheng and asked, Hengsheng, each realm of the Earth Profound Realm is separated by a step, which is actually a heavenly slash. Do you understand the difficulty in that? Gu Tsang, on this side, also advised, that's right, little guy, this is not a joke. Are you sure about this? Gu Hengsheng smiled and answered, Grandfather, I can even heal second uncle's legs, so why should anyone not trust me? Gu Mo and Gu Tsang, upon hearing this, were left speechless, their expressions agape. Gu Hengsheng began to channel his energy and said, Second uncle, next I will transmit to you a set of Earth tier basic skills called the Heavenly Heart Breathing Technique. Gu Mo sat there solemnly, both expectant and somewhat fearful. With the rarity of this skill, once it is revealed, it is likely to ignite war throughout the Baigua land. Gu Hengsheng placed his hand on Gu Mo's chest, beginning the process of transferring the skill to him. A golden aura surrounded the two of them. Gu Hengsheng spoke loudly, Heavenly Heart guiding energy, blood chi at the source, sun and moon in harmony, divine path without direction, all within a single breath. Gu Mo tightly shut his eyes, his brain quickly absorbing the new skill. Gu Tsang looked up and couldn't help but exclaim, it seems tonight will be very long. The day of the princess's marriage also arrived. Young and princess, dressed in a formal red gown, entered the main gate, her face showing no signs of joy. Upon meeting Mo Xiaoyang, she bowed and greeted, I pay my respects to father. He quickly replied, you may rise. The great deities below all bowed respectfully. The eunuch above called down, today, Princess Yong'an will marry into the Nan Yuan kingdom, in order to help the Tian Feng kingdom establish a good relationship with Nan Yuan. Mo Xiaoyang entrusted, Deputy Commander of the Imperial Guard, Wen Hongfeng, I order you to take 3,000 elite guards to escort Princess Yong'an into Nan Yuan, and only return to court after the grand marriage is concluded. He immediately knelt down, the general receives the order. The drums began to sound fiercely. Yong'an had not a single smile on his face. On the contrary, he looked extremely sad, his heart filled with sorrow and regret. Gumo, in the end, you still did not appear. Yong'an then stepped up to the red carriage, beginning the journey. As the carriage gradually moved, the crowd behind knelt down to pay their respects, chanting in unison, salute to the princess. Despite the urgency of the situation, Gumo was still in the process of cultivating. Gu Hengsheng looked at him with tension and could only decide, second uncle, if you do not break through soon, I will have no choice but to forcibly awaken you. Knowing that time could not be stretched, Gumo then broke through to the mid-earth profound realm. Afterward, he immediately opened his eyes wide, fully alert. Gumo excitedly stood up and said, quick, prepare the horse, I will chase after her immediately. At this moment, Gu Hengsheng said, not good, second uncle. Princess Yong'an was escorted out of the capital early this morning by the envoy of the Nan Yuan kingdom. Second uncle, there is something you must consider carefully, it seems that the princess has already entered the territory of the Nan Yuan kingdom. At this moment, if we go, it's essentially a plunder of the bride. Hearing this, Gumo couldn't help but be taken aback, thinking, this is provoking the dignity of the royal family of the Nan Yuan kingdom. If we go this time, it's certain we won't return. He gritted his teeth and said, plunder the bride, but then Gumo quickly regained his composure. This matter is my responsibility, I can go alone. Gu Hengsheng immediately replied, Princess Yong'an is the aunt. Gu Hengsheng, I believe that I must go with second uncle this time. Hearing this, Gumo immediately refuted, you are the only vein of the Gu family, the future hope of our family. How can you take risks with me? Gu Hengsheng leaned closer to second uncle, his expression resolute as he replied, no matter what, I will not let second uncle take risks alone. This matter is not up for discussion. Just then, the door was kicked open by Gu Tsang. He appeared with Yi Bo and several mysterious individuals. Seeing this, Gu Hengsheng immediately asked, Sir, who are these people? Yi Bo gestured towards the others and introduced, little young master, these are the elite assassins of the Gu family that have been cultivated. The master has decided to have them escort you to the Nan Yuan kingdom. Everything happened. Gu Tsang felt a surge of energy, his body burning with heat as he said, "Not just them, I also want to go." Gu Shing immediately retorted, "Absolutely not." He clasped his hands together and said, "Sir, you have been on the battlefield for decades, and you still have old wounds on you. You can't go on this trip. How can you take such a risk?" As soon as Gu Hengxing finished speaking, Gu Tsang immediately hit him hard and scolded, "You rascal, I am not so incapacitated yet." Then he added sternly, "Gu family members don't need to speak too much. If you all have determined that Princess Yong'an is the daughter-in-law of the Gu family, then we are all one family. When the family is in trouble, how can I, as the family master, sit idly by? As for the Nan Yuan kingdom, we will seize it if we must." Gu Yuemo also advised him, "Father, you are the Grand General who stabilizes the nation. Your involvement will surely cause conflict between Tianfeng Kingdom and Nan Yuan Kingdom. The Gu family must prioritize the safety of the people." However, he happily thought to himself, "At this moment, the military authorities must have received my memorial." Then Gu Tsang told his son, "Don't worry, I already thought of this." When receiving Gu Tsang's memorial, Mo Xiaoyang began to read, "Your Majesty, the old minister Gu Tsang voluntarily resigns from the position of Grand Marshal of the state. For many years, I, along with the Gu family, have fought on the battlefield, blood staining the skies, the whole family loyal and righteous. Now, I should also live a life for the descendants of the Gu family, wishing your Majesty good health and longevity." After reading the content inside, he sighed and said, "Old man Gu, you truly put me in a difficult position." Then Mo Xiaoyang closed his eyes, his heart continuously struggling. He called out, "Someone." At that moment, the eunuch hurried in, quickly bowing and replying, "Your Majesty." Mo Xiaoyang commanded, "Convey my decree, expel the Xueqi army from the Tianfeng kingdom, execute it immediately, do not delay." The eunuch below was astonished, but immediately replied, "Yes." He went outside, heavy-hearted, thinking, "The Xueqi army consists of loyal and courageous individuals. Once they leave the capital, they will definitely aid the Gu family. The Majesty is cutting off his own hand." The old eunuch looked up to the sky and sighed. Perhaps the position of the Gu family in the heart of the Majesty is irreplaceable. In the Nan Yuan kingdom, the envoys took turns offering their congratulations. Envoy of Li Xing kingdom, congratulations to the Prince of Nan Yuan kingdom on his marriage to Princess Yong'an of Tianfeng kingdom. Envoy of Defeng kingdom, congratulations to the Prince of Nan Yuan on his grand wedding, wishing for the Nan Yuan kingdom to become increasingly prosperous, with favorable winds and harmony. Envoy of Shifeng kingdom, congratulating His Highness Prince Xian Yuan Hao Yun on his wedding, wishing for the Nan Yuan kingdom to rise more and more. The military leader of Nan Yuan stepped forward modestly, extending his hand warmly and saying, "Today marks the union between our Nan Yuan kingdom and Tianfeng kingdom. From now on, the two nations will work together for peace and stability." The people below chanted in unison, "Congratulations to the Nan Yuan dynasty, congratulations to the Tianfeng dynasty." The eunuch raised his voice to announce, "The auspicious time has come, please invite the newlyweds to the stage." Crown Prince of Nan Yuan, Xian Yuan Hao Yun, along with Yong'an, stepped forward to prepare for the ceremony. The eunuch raised the tray in his hands joyfully and said, "Your Highness, Princess, as soon as you offer tea to the military leader, the ceremony will be considered complete." He extended his hand with a smile, saying, "Princess, please." As Yong'an was preparing to pick up the tea cup, a voice rang out, "Princess, wait a moment." Yong'an's eyes were filled with tears as she turned and said, "You've come, you really have come." It was Gu Yuemo and Gu Hengsheng, both of whom had arrived just in time. Gu Yuemo and Gu Hengsheng were surrounded by soldiers. The eunuch angrily shouted, "Who dares to challenge the authority of the Nan Yuan kingdom?" He furrowed his brows and replied loudly, "Gu family, Gu Yuemo." Hearing his title, the eunuch's face changed dramatically, and he broke out in a cold sweat. He turned to report to the Nan Yuan commander, "Your Majesty, Gu Yuemo is the bloody general who suppressed the various states back then." Upon hearing this, the Nan Yuan commander exclaimed in surprise, "I heard that 5 years ago, the bloody general's legs were crippled. How could he stand again?" Gu Hengxing coldly interrupted, saying, "Stop talking nonsense. We have only one purpose for coming here today, which is to take Princess Yong'an away. Xian Yuan Haoyun angrily shouted, bold. He clasped his hands and said, Dear father, these two have challenged the authority of the Nan Yuan kingdom, their audacity is unprecedented, and according to the law, they deserve to be executed without mercy. The Nan Yuan commander's expression also turned grim, and Yong'an fell to her knees, crying and pleading. Absolutely not, I implore your majesty to release these two. Yao Ling was deeply grateful. Xian Yuan Haoyun's expression darkened as he angrily said, You plead for him, this infamous bloody general has blood on his hands from many of our Nan Yuan soldiers. She was stunned, her face pale and at a loss for words. The Nan Yuan commander coldly ordered, Kill these two on the spot. Immediately, the soldiers rushed forward to attack the two. Gu Yumo and Gu Hengsheng leaned against each other. He remained calm, joking with his nephew, Let's see who kills more today. Gu Hengsheng slammed the box containing the sword down, causing the ground to crack. He declared loudly, No matter the odds, we will fight. What followed was an intense battle. Gu Yumo skillfully wielded the lance, taking down each soldier. With a determined expression, he shouted, Even if the blood stains Nan Yuan, today I, Gu Yumo, will bring the princess back. Yong'an shed tears of emotion, feeling both worried and warmed in her heart. Gu Hengsheng clenched his fists, looking forward, revealing the sharp sword within. He brandished his sword and charged forward, beheading each opponent while proclaiming, One sword shocking the red, 10,000 drops of blood, the flow of the red world harms the life cycle. Suddenly, through the dense smoke appeared a tall figure. This enormous man approached Gu Hengsheng, flashed a provocative smile, and said, Little guy, let me test your strength. He was astonished and replied, Strong earth profound realm of Nan Yuan kingdom, Zhui Yuan Zhou. Zhui Yuan Zhou hoisted a large saber onto his shoulder and boldly stated, I don't fight nameless people, little guy, reveal your name. He frowned at him and seriously responded, Gu family, Gu Hengsheng. Zhui Yuan Zhou's expression turned disappointed as he disdainfully said, What? You are the young master of that infamous useless family. His expression was hard to describe as he thought to himself, It is often said that good deeds don't come to light, while evil deeds travel 1,000 miles. Indeed, this saying is not wrong. A subordinate standing beside Zhui Yuan Zhou informed him, General, Gu Hengsheng has already undergone a transformation, now he is General Qi Shuang of Tianfeng Kingdom, having once defeated 10,000 troops of Beiyu. He spat and coldly replied, What Qi Shuang? A useless person is still a useless person. Let me show you how I will beat him back home to call for his mother. Zhui Yuan Zhou swung his knife down fiercely onto the ground, causing the earth to crack. Gu Hengsheng raised his sword into a defensive stance and shouted, 9 lives sword, first stance. Zhui Yuan Zhou lifted his sword to block Gu Hengsheng's attack. His expression changed upon witnessing Zhui Yuan Zhou's skills. Zhui Yuan Zhou gritted his teeth and fought to hold his ground, both sides locked in an indecisive battle. The two stood ready to charge at each other at any moment. Xian Yuan Haoyun was stunned, thinking, the sword intent is too strong. Zhui Yuan Zhou wiped the sweat from his brow, his face tense as he cursed, Damn it, I'm a dignified earth profound realm practitioner, yet I'm being tangled up by a kid. If this gets out, I'll have no face left to meet anyone. Suddenly, Gu Hengsheng appeared behind him, calling out, 9 lives sword, second stance, sword slash. Zhui Yuan Zhou froze at the lightning-fast movement. He glanced back. Zhui Yuan Zhou leaped high into the air. Seeing this, Gu Hengsheng smiled and thought, Finally, there's an opening. Gu Hengsheng gathered his internal energy and shouted, 9 lives sword, third stance, ice sword stance. With this strike, one of Zhui Yuan Zhou's arms was severed. He screamed in fear, No. Zhui Yuan Zhou fell from above, and he knelt on the ground, alertly saying, I am the second-grade general of Nan Yuan Kingdom, what do you want to do? Gu Hengsheng slowly advanced, smiling, with his other hand swinging the sharp sword, replying, a small border country. With that, he decisively swung his hand, and Zhui Yuan Zhou's head followed suit, leaving his neck. The soldiers, witnessing his head rolling, exclaimed in shock, he really dared to behead the general of Nan Yuan Kingdom. Oh my! Guo glanced at the commotion from the other side, chuckling heartily, little guy, you're good, no less than a man of my Gu family. Guo declared towards the Nan Yuan army, our Gu family only wishes to bring the princess back today, with no ulterior motives. If the Nan Yuan army continues to refuse to release her, it will only result in more unnecessary sacrifices. He gritted his teeth in anger upon hearing these words from Guo, and the Nan Yuan army raised their hands to order, the dignity of Nan Yuan Kingdom cannot be easily offended. The soldiers of Nan Yuan complied with his command, advancing in ever-increasing numbers. Guo and Gu Hengxing furrowed their brows at the large troop in front of them. Both individuals are ready to fight at any moment. The Nan Yuan general confidently smiled and said, the unparalleled genius is destined to end their life here. Suddenly, behind Gu Hengxing, many soldiers from outside charged into the palace, shouting, kill, kill. He smiled upon seeing the formidable soldiers behind him. His expression changed instantly as he exclaimed, the Xueqi army. Gu Tsang led the Xueqi army into the fray, shouting, kill. The Nan Yuan general coldly said, does the Tianfeng kingdom want to declare war on us, the Nan Yuan kingdom? Gu Tsang pulled on the reins and dismounted, replying seriously, the Xueqi army has violated national laws and has been expelled from the Tianfeng kingdom. Today's events have nothing to do with the Tianfeng kingdom, all consequences will be borne by the Gu family. The Nan Yuan soldiers were stunned and murmured, how can this be? The Tianfeng kingdom relied on the Xueqi army to suppress countless onlookers. Exactly, their general wouldn't have such formidable power. To dare expel the Xueqi army is self-destructive, could it be for the Gu family? He coldly laughed and said, only I, the Gu family, cannot bear it. Gu Tsang refused to back down and laughed loudly in response. Our Gu family cannot bear it, but it's just death after all. Gu Tsang's eyes were full of determination as he gazed directly at the Nan Yuan ruler. He saw the look in Gu Tsang's eyes and quietly broke out in a sweat. The Nan Yuan ruler spoke up to negotiate. Gu Tsang, I still ask you as I did years ago, are you willing to join Nan Yuan beside me? If you agree, I can spare the lives of the two of them. He was not swayed by these words and answered resolutely. Thanks, your majesty. Gu Tsang loudly proclaimed. It is a pity that this old general is not fated with the ruler. If there is a next life, I will repay the ruler's great kindness. The Nan Yuan ruler closed his eyes in despair. He immediately gave the order. Kill the enemies, uphold the might of our Nan Yuan. The sky was filled with dark clouds, thunder and lightning roared. The Nan Yuan soldiers charged forward shouting, kill. Gu Hengxing, holding a sword, was ready to slay the enemy. Gu Tsang raised the lance and yelled loudly. Guo was also taking down enemy soldiers one by one. After a while, Gu Hengxing let out a sigh of relief. Before him were the bodies of fallen Nan Yuan soldiers lying scattered. Gu Hengxing closed his eyes tightly, then looked ahead and said in a serious tone, people in the world are like drifting water lilies, how can they stop my footsteps? The three members of the Gu family were surrounded in the middle. Nan Yuan's commander still said, Gu Tsang, I will give you one more chance, will you surrender or not? He did not hesitate to reply with one word, fight, fear neither life nor death. The clash of swords began again. The great deities knelt down, shouting in unison, we implore the commander to call upon our national elders, to suppress the enemy and uphold the dignity of our Nan Yuan. Yong'an had tears in her eyes, filled with distress. She knelt there, as if remembering something, widened her eyes and looked at the people standing across. Yong'an burst into tears, silently determined, she went to take the sword from a subordinate's hand. Yong'an did not hesitate, placing the sword against her neck. Xian Yuan Hao Yun exclaimed excitedly, Yao Ling, what are you doing? Guo and Gu Hengxing turned around in shock at the sound. He fearfully shouted, don't. Yong'an, with a pained expression, said, Guo, I can't go back anymore, you go. Guo hesitated and replied, I. She continued, Guo, in this life, we are not fated to be together, and there is no need to force it anymore. Gu Hengxing sensed that the situation was not favorable and thought that if this continued to develop, he would truly be exposed. He looked at the sword in his hand and thought, the genuine 9 lives sword can destroy a nation with a single strike, but to achieve this power, one must awaken the strength of the soul from the previous life. Gu Hengsheng clenched his fist behind his back, determined to reassure himself, even if I am targeted by the heavenly Tao of Baigua, I am not afraid. Suddenly, Xian Yuan Hao Yun raised his hand and shouted loudly, all commanders of the Nan Yuan kingdom, heed my command, withdraw. The Nan Yuan military officials were astonished and asked, Yun heir, what are you doing? He replied, Father, the heart of Princess Yong'an is not with me, this marriage means nothing to me. Xian Yuan Hao Yun approached Yong'an and smiled, saying, Princess, perhaps you no longer remember, but many years ago we actually met. He took the sword from her hand and sadly said, it was just that at that time, you were in harmony with the bloody general, and I thought that as long as I could maintain peace and stability, it would be enough. Martial skills surpassed those of her peers, and perhaps could even challenge the general. Xian Yuan Hao Yun looked into Yong'an's eyes and said, but I was wrong. Even though she's by my side, in her eyes, there's only the bloody general. He furrowed his brow and sternly ordered, Gumo, you may take the princess. Gumo stepped forward, spear in hand, as soldiers stood lined up on both sides. He knelt, extending his hand with a contented smile, and said, Princess, I've come to take you home. Yong'an smiled happily and reached out toward Gumo. And with that, the story comes to an end. See you all in the next chapter. Hello, everyone. We're back with part 2 of the story. The bloody general, with all due dignity, led Princess Yong'an away, under the watchful eyes of those in the Nan Yuan kingdom's palace. The old great deities couldn't hold back any longer and started to speak, Your Majesty, we can't let them go. If we do, how will the Nan Yuan kingdom maintain its standing in Baigua? Your Majesty, you should advise the crown prince. This matter concerns the dignity of the Nan Yuan kingdom, it can't be decided lightly. However, the king of Nan Yuan remained calm and asked his son, Yun heir, you must have another reason for letting them go, right? When asked, Xian Yuan Hao Yun's expression changed immediately. He replied in a sinister tone, I can't hide it from father, ever since the wedding began, I sensed a threat that I've never encountered before, but I just couldn't discern its origin. At that moment, Xian Yuan Hao Yun's gaze caught sight of a young man in white standing in the crowd, whose aura overshadowed those around him. Gu Hengsheng beside him said, Is that the crown prince of Nan Yuan? He has quite a formidable presence. Xian Yuan Hao Yun immediately felt fear, and he thought to himself, Little young master of the Gu family, are you the source of this threat? Gu Tsang and his family quickly left Nan Yuan. Finally, on their way back to the Tianfeng kingdom, they saw a mighty army before them. He couldn't help but wonder, what is that? Gu Tsang squinted his eyes in alertness, and Feng Ao Jin beside him explained, Marshal, that is the Xueqi army, 30,000 iron cavalry under your command. As long as you give the order while in the Nan Yuan palace, they will aggressively attack the Nan Yuan kingdom, swearing they will not regret it. Gu Tsang looked at the scene before him, his emotions surged, seemingly unable to express himself in words. As soon as they spotted a figure in the distance, the Xueqi army quickly gathered around. Some people joyfully exclaimed, That's the Grand Marshal, they have returned. When Gu Tsang rode closer, the formidable army knelt down to pay their respects, saying, The great Xueqi army pays homage to the Marshal. Seeing the scene before him, Gu Tsang couldn't help but feel emotional, tears welling in his eyes. He ordered, Get up. Gu Hengsheng observed the kneeling soldiers and thought, Indeed, they are a group of bold men who know they might die but still want to come. Gu Tsang raised his head, excitedly shouting, We are going home. The army, led by Gu Tsang on horseback, quickly approached the borders of the Tianfeng kingdom. Gu Tsang looked up at the city gate and thought to himself, Beyond Yishi Pass is the border of the Tianfeng kingdom. I didn't expect we would truly survive and return. At this point, his expression suddenly became more serious, I just wonder if His Majesty will accept this old skeleton of mine. Gumo rode towards the city gate, loudly declaring, The Gu family brings the Xueqi army, hoping to open the city gates. As soon as Gumo finished speaking, the gates slowly opened. Yong'an Princess looked up at the city wall and noticed something unusual. Very quickly, Gu Tsang recognized that it was his father. Upon seeing the king, Guzang and the Xueqi army immediately paid their respects, saying, "We pay our respects to your majesty." Mo Xiaoyang was not only not angry, but also allowed them to rise. Then he said in a serious tone to Guzang, "Old man Gu, do you know how difficult your departure has made things for me?" Hearing the tone of Mo Xiaoyang, Guzang was overwhelmed with emotion. He softly called out, "Your Majesty," with tears in his eyes, thinking to himself, "Since the founding of the nation, it has been a long time since I called the king my brother. It turns out that the person who was always here all those years ago has never changed." Guzang quickly regained his composure, knelt, and reported, "I, the old General Guzang, leading my descendants along with the great Xueqi army, humbly seek permission to return to our homeland, hoping for your Majesty's grace." Without hesitation, Mo Xiaoyang replied, "Permission granted." He then added, "Open the city gates to welcome the young lord." The city gates were opened wide, as if welcoming the Gu family back safely. Guzang resolutely led the Xueqi army and his descendants back to the Tianfeng kingdom. Although it was just like that, upon encountering Mo Xiaoyang, Guzang became serious again. "Your Majesty, the border areas are dangerous. From now on, do not allow anyone to act recklessly like that again." But Mo Xiaoyang smiled and replied, "You are the sovereign, with millions of citizens behind you, so you must always prioritize the safety of the nation. But you are also human, isn't it all right to be stubborn once in a while?" Guzang sighed and said, "This time the Gu family has brought great trouble to your Majesty. I fear that the Nanyuan kingdom will not back down." Mo Xiaoyang replied confidently, "If they want to fight, let them fight. Our Tianfeng kingdom has the Gu family and Gu Hengsheng, what is there to fear?" Safely returning to Tianfeng kingdom, not long after at the Gu family residence, Gu Hengsheng had come to discuss matters with Gu grandfather. Before he even saw him, he heard Guzang's voice ringing out, "Little guy, quickly tell me, when did you comprehend sword intent?" Thinking of this, Guzang couldn't help but feel annoyed, and he shouted angrily, "You've been hiding it for so long, you even dared to hide it from this old man, your wings must have stiffened, huh?" Gu Hengsheng was sweating profusely as he admitted his mistake, "Grandpa, I know I was wrong." Guzang raised a cup of tea and asked, "Tell me, what else are you hiding from us? Speak clearly." The sun repeatedly overturns Laozi's worldview. Today, if you don't explain clearly, you won't be going anywhere. Then, the honest voice of Gu Hengsheng rang out, "Grandpa, actually I am a martial artist at the Heaven Profound realm." Hearing this lofty level, Guzang, who was enjoying his tea, couldn't help but choke. Gu Hengsheng's words were true, but he did not believe them, instead pointing at him and loudly saying, "Damn it, if you are the legendary strong Heaven Profound realm, then I have been living in a dog's body all these years." Gu Hengsheng didn't know how to explain, his head ached thinking, "Grandpa, I am telling the truth, and you refuse to believe me. Are you trying to pick a fight with me?" Just then, a servant approached and reported, "Young master, Han young master has arrived and is waiting for you in the garden." Hearing this, Guzang waved his hand, "If he is here to find you, then hurry and go." With no other choice, Gu Hengsheng complied. As soon as Han Ruian saw Gu Hengsheng, he immediately ran toward him, looking like he was on the brink of death, crying out, "Gu brother." Gu Hengsheng also asked, "Is there something you need from me?" Han Ruian once again hugged him and pleaded, "Gu brother, please convince my father to lift my house arrest so I can join you in cultivation." Hearing this kid suddenly change his mind, Gu Hengsheng asked back, "You want to cultivate now?" Han Ruian shook his head dozens of times in denial, "Definitely not, that's just an excuse to get my father to release me." Then he patted his chest and declared, "My glorious youth should be used to enjoy the beautiful women of the world, to smell the fragrances of the realm, how could I waste it on cultivation?" Gu Hengsheng, hearing the lofty reasons of his little brother, couldn't help but laugh. He didn't know what else to say, he just felt, "Indeed, this kid hasn't changed at all." Then Han Ruian pointed confidently, "Moreover, no matter what happens, I have my father and master to back me up, and now that Gu brother is such a genius, why should I bother cultivating? Rest assured, I'm just enjoying life with my master, what do you think, Gu brother?" Gu Hengsheng didn't know how to respond anymore, he just replied with a perfunctory remark. "We feel that you have quite a lot of thoughts. Han Ruoyan immediately showed joy and asked, so, does Gu brother agree now? That's very good. At the same time, he had already made a decision in his heart, it's really too useless, tell the family master of the Han family to let him go out and train. After a while, when he returned, Gu Hengsheng also went to visit Gong Xinu's group. The group managed by Yen Shing was all gathered in front of Gu Hengsheng, without a single person missing. They all simultaneously greeted, greetings, master. Gu Hengsheng looked at them and simply replied, He secretly commented, it seems they have not been negligent in their cultivation. Gong Xinu and Shang Guanhai have also started their cultivation, and some have even reached the middle stage of the human profound realm. Among the 13 martial artists, 4 have reached the middle stage of the spirit profound realm, while the remaining 9 are in the early stage of the spirit profound realm. Gu Hengsheng looked at Yen Chenggu and said, Chenggu, choose someone with the highest cultivation and the best temperament. He promptly complied, yes, master. Soon, Yen Chenggu chose someone and reported, Master, this person is named Gu Xingping, and his cultivation has reached the middle stage of the spirit profound realm. This person is intelligent and can also be considered kind-hearted. Gu Xingping is very disciplined and follows Yen Chenggu to address him as Master. Gu Hengsheng said sternly to him, Gu Xingping, I have something I need you to do, there must be no mistakes, do you understand? He replied, Subordinate understands, please give your orders, master. Gu Hengsheng began to explain, tomorrow morning, I will arrange for you to be beside the Crown Prince Han Ruoyan. I will throw Han Ruoyan and you into some place. He raised one finger, seriously instructing, remember, if Han Ruoyan's life is not in danger, you absolutely must not intervene. I want you to enjoy the darkness of the human world with him, so he can understand what cruelty truly means. Gu Xingping responded with a resolute expression, subordinate understands. The next morning, with the sky beautifully clear, Gu Hengsheng sat leisurely in the courtyard, enjoying a cup of tea in his hand. At that moment, a shadow appeared, and he paused his current action. It was Yen Chenggu who appeared, reporting, Master, the Crown Prince Han and Gu Xingping have entered the human trafficking organization, and now the Crown Prince Han and Gu Xingping have left the capital. On the way, it will probably not be very peaceful. Gu Hengsheng listened to Yen Chenji's presentation while drinking tea, and then he asserted, some things must be experienced, only then will one understand what they truly want. Yen Chenggu also called out, Master. Gu Hengsheng did not miss the opportunity to ask, what is it? Upon being asked, Yen Chenggu clearly expressed his desire to him, in recent days, I have mentioned to you about the Moyang kingdom, and I want to leave here for a while to search for an old acquaintance. Hearing this, Gu Hengsheng probed Yen Chenji's intentions. The Moyang kingdom is a superior dynasty, the deepest part of Baigua, where there are plenty of strong earth profound realm peaks. Are you sure you want to go now? Although he had heard Gu Hengsheng's words, Yen Chenggu had made up his mind, Master, I want to go and see. Gu Hengsheng said, I originally planned to accompany you, but I have too many matters to attend to and cannot leave. Yen Chenggu politely replied, I appreciate your concern, Master. I'm just going to find an old acquaintance, no need to trouble you further. Gu Hengsheng lowered his eyes and instructed, then you may go. When leaving, remember to arrange those people properly. Yen Chenggu cheerfully said, thank you, Master. I will definitely return to comfort you. Gu Hengsheng took another sip of tea, feeling increasingly uneasy. He had a sense that something was about to happen. At this time, Gu Xingping was trying his best to make the horse run fast, while Han Ruoyan was locked in the cart of the human traffickers, constantly screaming, let me go, I am the young master, the nephew of the current Minister of War. You really have some nerve. Do you not know that the Crown Prince has sent someone to destroy you? Han Ruoyan was tightly bound and kept shouting loudly. Next to him were other hostages who were in the same situation. At this point, Han Ruoyan could only change his attitude and cry, please let me go, I beg you. I can give you a lot of money, please let me go. However, the others ignored Han Ruoyan and rushed to kick him in the face, cursing, shut up, damn it, stop screaming on the road. Han Ruoyan's face was swollen from the kick. With the situation having reached this point, Han Ruoyan continued to groan. I am the nephew of the current Minister of War, let me go. On a bright sunny morning, while Han Ruoyan was struggling on the other side, Gu Hengsheng had found his way to the Li mansion. As usual, he would first meet Li Tianyuan. As soon as he saw him, Gu Hengsheng politely spoke, Li Lord, this young master is bothering you again. Li Tianyuan's attitude was different from the beginning. He warmly said, Hengsheng is here, come over and sit. Then Li Tianyuan happily inquired, Hengsheng, I've heard about what you did in Nanyuan. Now, the title of General Qi Shuang can be said to be well known across the 5 lakes and 4 seas, from the south to the north. Gu Hengsheng humbly replied, Li Lord is joking. As he shifted his gaze, he caught sight of Li Qiu-ro sitting across the room, looking shy with rosy cheeks. Gu Hengsheng blushed when he locked eyes with his wife and quickly looked away. Li Tianyuan, knowing the situation, wanted to leave. All right, you two have been apart for many days, I'm sure there's a lot to say, I won't interrupt you any longer. But little guy must stay here for dinner tonight. We, as one family, should drink a glass of wine together. Li Tianyuan's words inadvertently awakened Gu Hengsheng, who quickly thanked Li Lord. After Li Tianyuan left, the door to the room was closed. Gu Hengsheng approached Li Qiu-ro, who at that moment reached for the glass of water beside her, intentionally wetting her hand. She conveyed her message by writing on the table with that water, on the trip to Nanyuan, are you not hurt? After finishing, Li Qiu-ro raised her head, wanting to hear Gu Hengsheng's response. He quickly replied, I am fine, you can rest assured. Li Qiu-ro continued to write with the water on the table, please take good care of yourself in the future, do not take risks anymore. After reading Li Qiu-ro's words, Gu Hengsheng was somewhat moved and replied, understood. Suddenly, he reached out his hand in front of her, then smiled and intentionally invited her, come for a stroll with me, there are many places in the Li family that I have not seen yet. Li Qiu-ro just looked at him, not responding immediately. In fact, Gu Hengsheng also felt a bit shy, his face had turned completely red. Finally, Li Qiu-ro extended her hand in return. The garden was in full bloom along with beautiful butterflies. Li Qiu-ro and Gu Hengsheng strolled together, hand in hand. The scene was truly beautiful, even the maidens watching couldn't help but exclaim, the young master and the lady are indeed a match made in heaven. If only my husband could compare to even half of the young master, it would be wonderful. Stop dreaming in broad daylight. There are so few heroes like the young master in the world. Don't even mention half, even a tiny fraction would be amazing. As they watched Gu Hengsheng and Li Qiu-ro playing joyfully, they whispered again. We thought our 3 great geniuses were the most impressive, but unexpectedly, the young master doesn't care about this title at all, with just one kick, he has knocked down some so-called genius. Shoo, be quiet. What if someone else hears? As the afternoon turned to evening, Gu Hengsheng stayed beside Li Qiu-ro until the moon was high in the sky and darkness enveloped everything. Only then did he bid her farewell. He brushed her hair and said, it's late at night, I will head back now. Meanwhile, Li Qiu-ro's face had turned completely red. Gu Hengsheng added to her, right, tell Lord Li that I won't be drinking tonight. He leaned close to Li Qiu-ro's ear and whispered, if you want to drink, then let's drink at our official wedding celebration, okay Qiu-ro? Gu Hengsheng's gentle voice clearly echoed in Li Qiu-ro's ear. Her face flushed hot, and her whole body suddenly became motionless, unsure of what to think. Time continued to flow silently, with the light autumn breeze carrying leaves. They gently fell to the ground by Li Qiu-ro's feet, while she was extremely tense at that moment. She clenched her dress with both hands, her lips pressed tightly together, and her mind was spinning endlessly. In her heart, she thought, just now he said that we would drink together at the wedding, right? He called me Qiu-ro earlier, I surely didn't mishear that. Her eyes lifted to observe Gu Hengsheng's appearance, and she wondered, there are no stars tonight, but why do I feel so bright? Thinking thus, she lowered her gaze. Li Qiu-ro took hold of Gu Hengsheng's arm, and she wrote something in his palm to express her answer. Gu Hengsheng calmly observed each of her actions. In his hand, she wrote, everything is well, I will wait for you. Gu Hengxing smiled brightly and replied, all right. After their affectionate moment, Gu Hengxing turned and left, while Li Qiurou's gaze followed his retreating figure. Reflecting on the events of the day, Li Qiurou felt a surge of restlessness in her heart. At that moment, Li Tianyuan appeared behind her and said, little girl, don't look any longer, he has gone far away. The husband I chose for you is quite remarkable. Li Tianyuan continued, previously, you were dead set against it. If I hadn't intervened to stop you from seeking him out, this little guy might have belonged to someone else by now. He spoke sternly. The little guy from the Gu family has been hiding for many years, just to set up this ambush. If he didn't speak up, it would be fine, but since he has, it's quite impressive. During the battle at Yen Shing Pass, he became famous throughout the land, earning the title Qi Shuang. This trip to Nanyuan was even more formidable, killing a general from Nanyuan and suppressing all sides. He can be called a world-class genius. Li Qiurou couldn't help but feel amazed, quietly recalling her grandfather's words, a world-class genius. That morning, Guo entered the palace to meet Mo Xiaoyang, resolutely stating, Your Majesty, I have a matter to report. Mo Xiaoyang stood upright beside the throne and asked again, what is it? Guo's gaze was incredibly resolute as he clasped his hands together and candidly stated, I understand my humble status and lowly position, but out of devotion to Princess Yong'an, I dare to boldly request the Emperor's approval for marriage and to wed Princess Yong'an. Mo Xiaoyang had no intention of making things difficult for Guo. He sat down on the throne and kindly said, Gu General, I know your feelings for Yao Ling. If Yao Ling agrees, then I will certainly approve. Guo and Princess Yong'an had long harbored feelings for each other, and she would certainly not refuse Guo. Upon receiving Mo Xiaoyang's approval, Guo bowed and said, I thank the Emperor. Not only that, he further added, Your Majesty, I know that my family's resources are meager, and a marriage proposal gift may not meet your expectations. Therefore, I earnestly request your approval to lead troops in battle against Beiyu, to conquer 10 cities, and use that as a dowry for marriage. Upon hearing this, several elder great deities nearby immediately whispered among themselves, Tian Feng has not won a battle against Beiyu for a long time. That's Beiyu we're talking about, and he's aiming to conquer 10 cities. Guo continued. In recent years, Beiyu has invaded our borders, killed our people, and trampled on the national dignity of Tian Feng. Therefore, I, a humble general, am willing to lead the troops to battle, conquer 10 cities, and use that as a wedding gift to welcome the Yong'an princess. Hearing Guo's statement, Mo Xiaoyang expressed his satisfaction and joyfully patted his thigh, replying, Very well, truly deserving of being the citizens of Tian Feng, I approve. Mo Xiaoyang also recalled the young master of the Gu family. It is said that Gu Hengxing killed the great general Nan Yuan, Shui Yuan with just one strike. I will bestow upon him the title of Marquis of Tianyu and send him to assist you in battle. Guo clasped his hands again and said, Your Majesty is wise. In the morning at Li Mansion, the beautiful sunlight had reached the foot of the large gate. At this moment, Gu Hengxing arrived with Li Qiurou. The two sat together, and he spoke first. Qiurou, I must depart for battle tomorrow. Before I go, I want to see if your muteness can be cured. Upon hearing this, Li Qiurou became self-conscious and sad, thinking, is he criticizing me? Realizing what Li Qiurou was thinking, Gu Hengxing promptly took her hand and explained, Qiurou, don't think too much. I only feel certain that there is a way to cure her muteness. Li Qiurou's heart was racing as she said to herself, so he wants to cure me. Gu Hengxing placed his finger on her forehead and said, My profound qi will pass through every meridian of yours. The process may be a bit uncomfortable, so please don't struggle. Gu Hengxing began to examine Li Qiurou, thinking as he went, He Gu Yin, Liyin Point, Tongli Point, Chuji Point, these points are all important in the human body, closely related to its functions, no problems, all are fine. After finishing the examination, Gu Hengxing was stunned by the result of Li Qiurou and wondered, strange, so why is that? The more he thought, the more confused he became. Finally, he came to the conclusion, could it be, has Li Qiurou been pretending all these years, and she can actually speak? Then Gu Hengxing looked at her again, denying in his heart, no, her soul does not have the fluctuations of lying or hiding. At that moment, he had a clue, clapping his hands and silently thinking, wait, the soul. Then he sat down and gently spoke. Chiu Ro, don't resist later, I want to see if your soul has been harmed. Li Chiu Ro sat there quietly like water, but she was worried. If the soul is examined, wouldn't that mean every inch of her body would be revealed? Quickly, she regained her composure and made a firm decision. After all, we hold the status of husband and wife, and we will be married soon. Just a little examination should be fine, right? Gu Hengsheng extended his hand and said, don't be afraid Chiu Ro, just place your hand on mine. Li Chiu Ro also reached out and placed her hand on his, and together they closed their eyes, focusing intently on checking the condition of Li Chiu Ro's soul. This time, the result surprised Gu Hengsheng. He exclaimed inwardly, Heaven Qi, how is that possible? Traces of heavenly Tao Heaven Qi, Li Chiu Ro possesses Heaven Qi. After the examination, he stood up and reassured her, Chiu Ro, you are fine, don't worry. He placed his hand on Li Chiu Ro's head and gently continued, I will go prepare things, we will set off tomorrow, wait for me to return, and I will definitely cure you. Li Chiu Ro immediately felt anxious, thinking, he has to leave tomorrow. She hurriedly took Gu Hengsheng's hand and wrote a few words conveying, I hope you stay safe and return soon. Gu Hengsheng did not respond immediately but gently caressed Li Chiu Ro's cheek and sweetly replied, wait for me. Li Chiu Ro could not avoid it, her cheeks turning pink with embarrassment. Gu Hengsheng quickly left, silently observing the figure of his beloved and thinking, Heaven Qi, the mark of the heavenly Tao judge, is for those who commit many evils, who rebel against the heavenly Tao, and who are about to be erased, only then do they receive this mark. Gu Hengsheng stepped outside, looking up at the sky and saying to himself, Heavenly Tao, it seems that in this life, I really cannot escape. That's the end of the story for now, see you in the next part.